This guy spent 200 years isolated from society, just studying magic inside a dungeon with only his dog, Pochi, for company. He lost his parents when he was just 15 years old and decided to leave it all behind to live far away from everyone. 2 years later, he managed to brew an elixir of eternity, granting him a lifespan that never ends, although he can still be killed. With that elixir, he spent a whopping 4,000 years just training, inventing new spells and fighting monsters non-stop, until the day finally came when he decided to leave the dungeon and make contact with other humans again. After walking for a few hours, he runs into a massive horde of monsters in the forest, finding himself completely surrounded. But thanks to his insane magic level, he conjures a magic circle, wiping out every single monster with just one attack. Back on the road, his first goal is to reach the biggest labyrinth known as the Demon King's bosom and become as strong as he possibly can there. The sun started to set, and they were still trekking through the forest, until suddenly Pochi picks up a strange scent up ahead. When they get there, they find a monster horde attacking a group of humans. Asli, our protagonist, tells the humans to get out of his way. Wanting to test out his power, he casts a spell and creates a massive magic circle on the ground, opening up a giant pit for the monsters to fall into. Reed, one of the warriors, thanks him for the help but asks if he can save the little girl. Asli examines her arm and realizes that the cut she received was poisoned. He then uses his unique combination of magic spells, and the little girl's wound starts closing up immediately, draining a green toxin onto the ground, which totally freaks the humans out. The little girl is super curious about how he pulled off that healing magic. He explains he used a spell to rewind time on the wound, since normal healing wouldn't replace the lost blood. Since they're just warriors, they didn't understand a single word he just said. Totally impressed, Reed starts getting interested in who this guy actually is, but Pochi simply replies that they are just passing travelers. Also curious, Pochi asks the warriors exactly where they came from. They explain that they hail from the Falltown city, and offer to guide them all the way there, if they want. Asli accepts the invite, and they all head out of the forest together, but once again, Pochi picks up a strange scent, and suddenly a massive, terrifying chimera appears, blocking their path. Asli tells Pochi to buy some time while Reed protects the girls. Pochi, who used to be just a simple dog but accidentally drank the eternal life potion in the past, ended up becoming just as strong as Asli himself. Now he can grow to the size of the chimera, buying enough time for Asli to cast his magic against the monster, activating a powerful spell that electrocutes the entire creature. However, it wasn't enough, and despite the injury, the chimera remains standing. Pochi then yells for Asli to use the hexagonal magic circle. Asli says piece of cake and creates a huge circle over the chimera, summoning a gigantic ice shard that pierces the monster, pinning it down. Mana, the older girl, seizes the opening and finishes the chimera with her sword. With the chimera dead, they rip off its horns as loot and take them back to town as proof that they finally took it down. After hours of walking, they finally arrive in Falltown. Asli is totally shocked to see the place in ruins. Lena, the little girl, explains that they are the very last offenders and that everyone else died protecting the city, leaving only them and the elderly. They make their way to the elder's house and knock on the door, announcing that they made it back. A sophisticated-looking girl named Reina answers the door and leads them inside to meet the elder. When they get there, the town elder introduces himself as Ryan. Reed breaks down what happened and reveals that Asli defeated the chimera. Ryan is completely floored by the news, since that beast was the one that destroyed the town. The elder starts suspecting Asli might be one of the world's 6 archmages, but Asli lived in a dungeon for 200 years and has no clue what that is. Late that night, Ryan asks Reina to show Asli a spare room so he can rest. While they walk, Reina explains the terrible state the city is in, saying they are suffering from a severe lack of food and water because the main well has run completely dry. Once in his room, Asli gets deep into thought, and even after living for so long, their situation really weighs on him. After kicking off his long journey, he finally gets some sleep. The next day, he wakes up with a plan and tells Pochi they're gonna stick around in the city for a bit. He asks everyone to gather around the dried-up well, leaving everyone totally confused about his intentions. Asli tells Mana and Reina they won't have to haul water from the river anymore, because the well is back in business. He raises his staff and starts channeling a spell. Suddenly, a massive block of ice drops into the well and melts instantly. Everyone starts cheering, celebrating the fact that they finally have fresh water again. Asli assures them that whenever the water runs dry, they can just call him. The people around him are overcome with emotion, and Asli realizes he's becoming more sentimental, something that had never happened to him before. All this made him feel kind of weird. The truth is, he felt a bit numb to other people's feelings, and realizing this hit him hard. The real goal of this journey is to get back what he once had. Feeling things isn't always a bad thing. Our boy used that ice technique one more time. He did this to finish the water level in the town's well. Right after you wrapped that up, Leslie popped in, bringing firewood from the forest. Our dude asked her to drop off the kids chopping wood for fuel, suggesting she do it one more time after unloading the firewood. He watched as everyone hustled, then got surprised by a little girl. She came over to show him some seeds she wanted to plant in the city's field. Now that everyone's grinding hard, she's hoping those seeds will sprout. With that, the girl bounced off to handle her business, and our boy realized he's only been there for 6 days. In that time, he managed to score food for everyone, giving folks time to bounce back. They're also hunting animals and monsters for food since the land's too dry to plant. People were grossed out by the idea of munching on monster meat, but soon they were convinced by the hype of those who dared to try it. Our boy found that wild, since before he dipped from the world, eating monster meat was totally normal. Looks like some traditions have faded away over time. And thinking about culture, he felt like things were kinda going backward. According to Ryan, the other villages in the area are in the same boat. He thought about this so much that he had to snap back to reality. Even though Ryan's older, he's still a warrior and super worried about the city's safety. But hey, things are looking a bit brighter now. After hyping up the villagers, they're all in on the rebuilding grind. Our boy hopes this will spark a new vibe for them, but honestly, having hope is what fuels these people to keep pushing. This could be the start of a whole new chapter in their lives. After mowing over all this, our protagonist figured he should get back to work too. There's still a mountain of work to tackle. The city used to be a fortress with walls all around. Each district had a gate leading outside. Sadly, some of those gates are now monster hangouts. The gates that used to let people in are blocked, so they're stuck living in the southern part of the city. Having monsters so close makes everyone super anxious. Thinking about the people's safety, our boy started building an earthen wall in front of the gate. Ryan saw this and was blown away by how hard our protagonist was working. He figured the hole in front of the city would turn into a lake. Our boy admitted that's the plan, but first, he needs to build another earthen wall. Ryan was seriously impressed by the kid's smarts. Our protagonist wants to change the terrain to make it tougher for monsters to creep in. He even asked the old man if he could drop some advice if he felt up to it. Ryan noticed how humble our protagonist is. While the old man smiled, our protagonist felt a bit shy. Seeing that smile filled him with strength and courage. Days ago, he used his evaluation glasses to check out Ryan and Reyna. As expected, both of their stats were epic, but what really blew his mind was Ryan, who used to protect the city before the young guns got stronger. He has a sick technique called sword dance. 2 days ago, a massive 20-meter serpent showed up in the city. Without a second thought, Ryan charged in. In a flash, he used his fencing skills, slicing that creature in half. Our protagonist and Leslie were left totally speechless. But it makes sense, since even though he's older, Ryan's still a beast. If things were different, he'd definitely be a legend across the continent. Thinking about this, our protagonist got interrupted by Ryan, who wanted to ask a question. He wanted to know the real deal about our protagonist. That straight-up question had him deep in thought. For a moment, silence filled the air between them. Our boy didn't want to answer with another question, but he was curious about what made the old man ask that. Ryan said he was once young and traveled a ton through these lands, and the way our boy handles magic is seriously impressive. It's tough to soak up all that knowledge in just one lifetime. Our boy is totally shook that he's come to this wild conclusion, revealing he's got eternal life. Turns out he's been around for about 5,000 years, so Ryan jumps in and asks if the boy found the legendary elixir of eternity. And our protagonist, with a smirk, says he kinda created it by accident. The old man's eyes widen, wanting to know if the boy ever regrets that. But honestly, our protagonist has been so isolated that he's got no clue how to answer. Ryan was about to drop some wisdom, but the kids interrupted them. They spilled the tea that dinner was already cooking. And just like that, their convo took a hard left. Our protagonist told Ryan to chill for a sec, saying he'd call Lassie to join them too. But they'd definitely pick up this chat later. Still, our boy knows Ryan's thinking he'd regret it eventually. And honestly, he's been alone for so long that he wonders if this world might get boring. Even though he doesn't age, he's not a total immortal. He believes he can choose when to hit pause. Meanwhile, all the villagers are gathering for dinner. Finally, our protagonist spots Lassie, but she freaks out a bit, seeing him all worn out. He brushes it off, saying it's nothing, and zooms over to her because he's starving. In fact, he tells Lassie to chill and take the rest of the day off. As soon as she hears that, Lassie's all, "Who are you and what have you done with my master?" Her reaction totally hurt our protagonist's feelings. He told her to get it together and grab him a bowl of soup because he's hungry. Lassie's like, "Did you just call me stupid?" And without missing a beat, he calls her stupid again. This back and forth actually made her feel better, realizing this is really her master. But once again, our boy is feeling all kinds of offended. As she goes to fetch the soup, Lassie says no one calls her stupid except her master. Pondering this, our boy wonders where he went wrong in raising his little buddy. Meanwhile, the villagers are hustling hard. With Rina by his side, our protagonist spots the warrior rolling in. They manage to chat using hand signals. As the city's getting rebuilt, defending it is becoming way easier. Our boy wants to make a sound warning to help out. They just tested it, and it was a total win. With the earth walls and the lake set up, the villagers can finally catch some Z's. The warrior gives our protagonist mad props, saying thanks to his magic, everything's going super smoothly. They've got plenty of water and food. Feeling a bit shy, our boy says it's all thanks to everyone's hard work, but they still have a mountain of work ahead. For real, thinking about it, they all know this journey is just getting started. Even with food, they need to ration it. Trading stuff is still a ways off. Our protagonist can't really explore the lost regions of the city yet, but the southern area is good for now. The warrior's got to bounce to keep working as a wall guard. He'll switch off with Ryan. Meanwhile, Rina's taking on the role of village chief's secretary, handling the smaller tasks. And our protagonist is using his free time to teach the little kids. Right now, he's got 2 students learning magic, the only ones with potential. The main requirement? A solid amount of mana. He asks the kids what the 4 fundamental elements are. The girl pipes up saying they're fire, water, earth, and wind. Then he asks the other if she knows which one's the easiest to control, and she thinks it's fire. Our protagonist gives her a high five, saying she nailed it, and they both celebrate. Everything he's teaching is super basic, just right for the kids' level. The shyest one is an orphan, but the village has her back, and she's doing great. Today, she even volunteered for class all on her own. So, for today's lesson, our protagonist is diving deeper into the world of fire. He wants the kids to give that little spell a shot. Super worried, one of them asked the teacher if that wasn't dangerous. And yeah, our main dude confirmed that there's definitely some danger involved, but if they nail it, it'll be totally safe. He strongly advised them not to mess with this spell since he usually trains Lassie with fireballs. The kids ended up feeling pretty anxious about that. Back to the lesson, our main dude said handling fire is just like using precision tools. He told both kids to grab their staffs and face the wall. They got to create a magic circle, just like they learned, and then whip up a wind technique to focus the magic from the staff. If it gets too heavy, they can totally use both hands. Super focused, they start drawing the magic circle like they're doodling with a pen. As soon as the spell was ready, they managed to launch the fireballs and surprise, surprise, they did it perfectly. Our main dude was hyped about this, since when he was an apprentice, it took him weeks to pull off something similar. Honestly, he's so lacking in talent that seeing those kids crush it makes him want to cry. If you're an adult with enough mana, you can join the academy by passing a simple test, but obviously, that comes with a hefty price tag. After grinding hard and losing a ton of cash, our main dude ditched the Magic Academy. All he wanted after that was to show everyone they were wrong. That's how he accidentally whipped up the Elixir of Eternity. And before he knew it, all those haters had already kicked the bucket. His thoughts got interrupted by one of his students, who was super stoked about nailing that spell. Our main dude has no clue how far he can go with his current skills, but teaching those kids is pretty chill. At the end of class, he handed out notes with the formulas they should study. He also said they shouldn't use magic if he's not around, because if they ignore his orders, he'd stop teaching them. Honestly, he can't imagine those two would ever disobey him. Fire magic can be super useful, but it's also dangerous, and he needs to teach them that from the jump. Our main dude found out that the number of wizards has dropped over time, and those not trained by the Magic Academy aren't considered official wizards. He learned from Ryan that not being registered doesn't bring punishments, but if they cause trouble, it'll definitely be a problem. He told the students that eventually, they'll be able to join the Magic Academy and hopes they won't run into any issues by then. After class, our boy thanked the carpenter for making those staffs for the students. Strolling through the village, he thought about checking on the training of the young warriors. That girl he saved at the start is asking if everyone has weapons. Anyone without one should talk to her as soon as possible. Her name is Mana, and when she saw our main dude, she figured the magic class must have wrapped up. The warriors class is happening near the central square. Not all parents would be cool with their kids joining that class. At first, everything's chill and cheerful. This made our main dude remember how in the past, people were split between wizards and warriors. Mana quickly noticed one kid accidentally hit his classmate. Worried, she rushed over to check if the kid was okay. Thanks to her skills, this class is running smoothly. Seeing the kids pumped up, Mana told our main dude they'd love to see the two duel in a friendly way. He agreed, making it clear he's not a warrior. She said she saw him act like a wizard, but she's curious about his physical skills, and wielding the wooden sword with confidence, she's eager to see how far he can go. Immediately, the duel kicks off. Mana is shocked that our main dude managed to block the first strike. After that, he stepped back a bit, feeling the pressure, but he kept getting hit with Mana's quick cuts. Next, he got caught off guard by a direct kick. Before he could regain his balance, he was surprised again by her sword. Luckily, our main dude dodged at the last second. He tried to counterattack, but it wasn't enough to take Mana down. Now she's ready to strike again, using the opportunity to take the offensive. The two are about to throw down again. But then, their epic weapon clash gets interrupted by a third party. It's the warrior swooping in to call it quits on that match. Mana, fuming, wants to know why her brother had to crash their fight. He just tells her to take a look around. That brawl is scaring the audience. Suddenly, Mana's all worried about what's going down. She goes to chat with the little kids who are actually hyped about the wild action. Plus, the kids' guardians are loving it too, realizing Mana's a total beast. With all those compliments, the girl turns beet red. But the warrior knows if this were a real fight, his sister wouldn't stand a chance. Our main dude would totally unleash some magic on her, and those spells are no joke. And they're aware of the 6 archmages, legends across the continent. After putting his sister in her place, the warrior tells her to keep leveling up. Our protagonist feels a twinge of envy about that sibling bond, since he's an only child. And while thinking about it, he remembers his buddy Lassie. Lucky for them, since arriving here, no one's kicked the bucket, just those who are already sick. Magic can't fix everything. Sometimes our protagonist feels pretty powerless. He's lost a lot of his feelings over time. Now that he's back with people, he's feeling some regret. The next morning, the day breaks beautifully. It's been 3.5 months since our boy started rebuilding the village, and you can see the progress in his students' outfits. No more ripped clothes. They've been grinding hard, so he's got a surprise for them. But just as he's about to spill the beans, something shady pops up in the sky. The kids freak out, and our boy tells them to stay put. In a flash, the warrior shows up with some bad news. A gang of goblins just rolled into the town square. This news sent a wave of fear through everyone's hearts. In a super dark spot, Lessie tells her master that everything's chill. Next, Rena carefully makes her way down. Once inside that cave, the girl casts a fire spell. She lights up the place like it's a party. The protagonist says she doesn't need to copy his spells. Lessie quips that it's enough for one person to memorize nonsense. She's just messing with him, and it totally gets under his skin. Now he's thinking about making a fur coat out of her. The girl says she's into that kind of magic, which totally surprises our protagonist. But seeing his student admire him makes both him and Lessie smile. After giving the little pup some training, the crew keeps moving. They gotta be careful, since Lessie's sniffed out some monsters. A few days back, goblins attacked the village. But when he got there, the little warriors trained by Mana had already handled it. After that, Ryan asked our protagonist to track down where those goblins came from, and while hunting for clues, they stumbled upon an abandoned church. After finding a hole that led to an underground path, our boy decided to check it out. For this adventure, he brought one of his students along, and that's how this unlikely crew is now exploring the cave. After walking a bit, Lessie spots an opening that leads outside. Our protagonist knows it's way too small for them to squeeze through, which makes his student grin, saying he's a big dude. To fix the problem, Lessie's got to pitch in, since her paws are perfect for digging. After checking out the hole and coming back, Lessie says the path leads to an abandoned house, and there are no monsters around. Still, if they're going to move forward, they got to be super careful. Our boy pulls out his evaluation glasses to think things through. He quickly checks out Lessie's and his student's stats. It's been a minute since he looked at his own status, and he's shocked to see something about the 6 archmages. Our protagonist thinks if he uses that, he might score some serious perks, but for now, he needs to focus on the present, and his student wants to know what's next. Our protagonist has a genius idea. They'll explore the area, and if things go south, he'll use Lessie as a shield. The dog suggests using him as a shield instead, and thanks to that, the two jumped into another heated debate. Not getting the vibe, the girl asked if they should move forward or just chill, and yep, that's exactly what they're about to do now. They're all scoping out the area, making sure they don't end up in a horror movie. Finally, they stumbled upon this abandoned house. Lessie is leading the squad to the exit. Outside, the first thing they spot is a massive chimera, a seriously scary creature, leaving them all speechless. Our main dude, super worried, asked Lessie if they're actually seeing the same thing. Pumped, Lessie dropped the bomb that this chimera with its size and horns is way stronger than the one they faced in the forest. This totally bummed our main dude out. Since Lassie had promised there were no monsters lurking around, the girl, freaking out, wanted to know what the plan was, but our main dude told her to chill since they hadn't been spotted by the beast. But then, the chimera locked eyes on their little crew, charging at them like it just found its favorite snack. The monster, completely losing it, was ready to wipe them out, leaving our main dude feeling totally crushed. Thinking fast, he managed to save his student, and looking back, he saw the wrecked house and fallen trees. In the chaos, the creature seemed to have gotten stuck. Our main dude and his crew took this chance to hide. Once they were hidden, he started giving Lassie a hard time for blabbing while they were trying to dodge that massive danger. What really sucks for all of them is that with the house wrecked, the underground passage was blocked. But hey, Thanks to that mess, the chimera seemed to have lost interest in them. Looking around, the girl was totally spooked, immediately asking for our main dude's help. And after checking them out, Lassie decided they were monsters. Our main dude figured the goblins who made it to the city were just trying to escape the chimera. A bit freaked out, the girl was shocked to realize that the monsters feast on other monsters, and our main dude was trying to wrap his head around the idea that those creatures in his city were just trying to run from an even bigger threat. Either way, they've got a major problem to tackle. He told Lassie to sneak up on the creature from behind, but she was not having it with that plan. In fact, she made it clear that taking down something that size solo was a no-go. Knowing this, our main dude hit her with a spell to boost all her skills. Feeling way lighter, Lassie was convinced this was going to work out. When she said goodbye to her master, she asked him to back her up in the battle. To the girl's surprise, Lassie charged into the fray, growing to a massive size. She also cast a power-up spell, which was going to help them snag that win. This time, our main dude had to focus all his energy. He was about to unleash a spell he crafted himself, using all 4 elements. The showdown between Lassie and the chimera kicked off, and the little dog was getting overwhelmed. But our main dude still needed time to finish that spell, launching a totally epic attack against his enemy, the elemental prism. The chimera, wrecked and defeated, was sent flying. Victory came at them fast, and Lassie shrank back to her original size, but she was a bit banged up. The girl noticed that the little dog had a bite on her neck and she freaked out. Our main dude took the chance to show that she's trained, giving some commands to Lassie, who then got super annoyed, not wanting to be treated like a tool, so he showed his student that Lassie's condition wasn't too bad. After pointing out where the injury on his buddy's chest was, he asked the girl to hit her with a healing spell, completely restoring Lassie's health. Excited about her success, the girl was feeling pretty proud, and our main dude was too, since he managed to teach something useful to his student. Now that they've tackled that issue, they need to bounce, but while they're chatting, the ground started shaking. The chimera that was supposed to be down for the count stood back up, and to everyone's shock, it started charging at them, ready to chow down. Feeling like a Pokemon trainer, our dude told Lassie to grow and attack, but she was out of juice. Sadly, all her mana had run dry. It was up to our main dude to pull one last trick. He drew a magic circle on the ground to summon something. This opened a portal through another dimension, and our dude was on the hunt for something wild. Meanwhile, the chimera was closing in fast. Even so, our dude stayed chill, searching for this mysterious object. When the chimera finally got close enough, he had already snagged what he wanted. Our dude locked eyes with the monster and launched a bunch of explosives its way. The chimera had no clue what those things were, but when it touched them, boom! Explosions went off, and this time, the creature got totally wrecked. Drenched in the blood of its enemy, our hero declared that justice always wins. Covered in blood, it took them a hot minute to figure out what just went down. Our hero realized he couldn't make sense of what his crew was saying, so he whipped out a healing spell to fix his hearing. Now he can hear everything, and Lassie is freaking out, wanting to know what just happened. Our boy said he had blown eardrums, but they really wanted to know about that epic explosion. He explained that was from some wild research he did ages ago. Lassie's curious about what dark magic circle that was, and our boy is low-key impressed she even noticed. Anyway, they gotta grab the loot from that battle. It'll be super useful. Now they're heading to check out the gate in the east. Our hero is hyped to see what's waiting there. Turns out the gate is totally fine and can actually be used. He called for his disciple, asking her to check it out. There's a ton of chaos in that area. After a moment, our hero figured the monsters were munching on each other due to food shortages. Lassie said the chimera would definitely be stuck, but smart monsters like goblins could work the gate. Our boy nodded, but they couldn't have done anything until now because of the chimera lurking around. And yep, his guess was spot on, earning him some serious props from his crew. But Lassie quickly told the girl to chill with the compliments so our hero's head doesn't get too big. Even though he's a bit annoyed, our hero knows Lassie gets how to handle him. Meanwhile, back in town, everyone's waiting for our boy to come back in front of the church. Thanks to the explosion noise, they were super worried about what went down. But thankfully, everything turned out fine, and our hero made it back. He showed Ryan that the gate is good to go again. After 2 years, monster problems have dropped a ton, and the kids are growing up strong. The villagers are grinding hard to help the village bounce back. Our hero is stoked about the progress, and Ryan called him for a meeting. This time, the topic is mega important, and to our hero's surprise, the old man handed him 2 scrolls. They're letters of recommendation for the Magic Academy. They're for our boys' students, who also got the thumbs up from Mana and the Warrior. Our hero wants the girls to see the world just like he did, but he's confused about why they're going now. To his shock, Ryan said the other scroll is for him. To get into the Magic Academy, a letter from the town chief is needed. Still in disbelief, our hero is at a loss for words in this meeting. But for Ryan, it's just a cover-up, to push our hero to follow his dreams. Worried, he even asked if he messed up. Ryan said not to get it twisted. He just wants our boy to spread his wings again. That village has finally bounced back, and now our hero can chase his journey in life. Even with his doubts, Ryan stood firm, telling him not to underestimate them. He knows our hero has his own goals, and he needs to keep exploring. Nearby are the magic academies, where he can learn more about the kingdom. What he really wants is for Hina to join him on this adventure. For a moment, our boy looked a bit down, and old Ryan said that humans tend to chill when things are stable and forget to explore. Sometimes all they need is a little adventure, and he hopes the villagers learn to be brave. And that goes for our hero too. Despite the few words, our boy thought that this is true, and he's getting too comfy in this place. At first, he was super worried about what could happen to these people. Feeling a bit more pumped, he asked when they should bounce to start this new journey, and Ryan said it should kick off tomorrow. For our boy, that's a bit sudden, but the old man said it's just for him, since Hina and Lassie are already ready to roll. Our boy was outraged because he doesn't get how the dog got the inside scoop on something so important. Only then did Ryan drop the knowledge bomb that he learned from Lassie, that being the last to know is the way to go. That's when the news hits different. And honestly, he was shook that his buddy was spot on. Ryan was all impressed, and the vibe was totally mutual. Not to mention Ryan's Lassie impression, straight up legendary. Bright and early the next day, a crew was chilling at the gate. Our main dude, with his trusty pup by his side, rolled up to them. He was low-key blown away by the warrior's serious face, thinking he'd be a total mess at this goodbye. But then, his sister totally snitched on him, pointing out the tears he just wiped away. One of his students, looking all sad, asked if he was really bouncing. He squatted down to chat with her, letting her know he left some homework for her to keep grinding on. It's all on her to figure it out and study solo. Feeling all the feels, the girl promised she'd keep hustling. No way she's falling behind. The warrior noticed her determination was on another level. Then he turned to Rena, curious about where she scored those fly clothes. She told him Rena made them just for her. Custom vibes all the way. Our dude realized Rena had leveled up a lot over the years. Lessie chimed in, saying he should step up his fashion game too, and he shot back that he changed his underwear today. That goofy response made Lessie get why her master can't shake off those cringe titles. He's totally out of touch. Faced with her side-eye, our boy decided to throw on some glasses to look a bit sharper. Worried, she rushed over, knowing those specs let him size people up. He made some tweaks, and now they could be worn all day since the evaluation mode could be switched off. The others were side-eyeing, curious about their conversation. The warrior felt a bit awkward being ghosted by his friends, and honestly, our dude agreed he probably shouldn't have pulled that stunt. Now, in their last moments together, they all said their goodbyes. A new adventure is kicking off. Our main guy, with Lassie and Rena, is diving into the unknown. Finally, they hit the nearest city, but it seemed like nobody had a clue about the little town of Falltown. In a quick flashback, we see they trekked for a whole week through the fields around the city. All that was left on the road was a tiny path, all overgrown and kinda sketchy. Eventually, they made it to the city of Iberial. Lessie gathered some intel. Turns out, a decade ago they heard about a nearby village, but it's like someone hit the mute button on that info. Worried, our dude realized this could be a major problem, since those recommendation letters might not even work. For Rena, this was the worst case scenario. Our main guy had already thought about this possibility, and he's got some plans brewing. He might need to dig into the academy situation. If things are worse, he'll have to scope out the whole country. Lassie asked what they should do with the recommendation letters, since if they're from a ghost town, that's a big issue. Our boy said there are other ways to get into the academy. He's not about to forget the favor Ryan did for him, but Rena was still lost on what he was plotting, and Lassie? The more she looked at him, the more she realized he's a total goof. While our dude was low-key offended, Lassie reminded them they were on a time crunch. For him, the reason he gets those negative titles is because he's always hearing shade from his canine buddy. He didn't want to keep acting dumb, so he was brainstorming a comeback. The more he thought, the more his friends started to sweat. Lassie said he must be cooking up something ridiculous. And then our dude seemed to have a light bulb moment. He shot back, asking what she meant by silly, and Lassie told him he still has the slowest reactions. That's why she still thinks he's a big fool. After getting roasted again, our protagonist remembered they were on about something important, which made Lassie visibly anxious. Rena brought up the recommendation letters and the risk of not getting into the Magic Academy. Our dude knew they had leveled up a bit in recent years. That's why, in this situation, joining the Adventurers Guild could be a solid move, especially since their contract needs the village chief's signature. Lassie totally got what our boy was trying to pull off, but Rena was completely in the dark. As soon as they rolled up to the guild building, our boy told Lassie to chill outside, but when they stepped in, a lady told them that Lassie could come in too. Our boy was shook, since back in his day that was a big no-no. Maybe it's because wizards are basically extinct now. Once inside, he was surprised that Lassie was welcomed so easily. The lady thought they were newbies and invited them in for a chat. They walked through a hall that looked more like a bar than anything else. At the counter was the town chief, who greeted them and asked them to fill out some forms. Peeping at those papers, our boy noticed the village chief's signature. With a flick of magic, he copied some info from that letter and slapped it onto his recommendation letter. Nina was totally blown away, not realizing that was even possible, but those letters were literally edited with magic. Our boy said this was basic stuff. He just added some personal flair to the spell. This was key, since the original spell had some obvious edits. With that sorted, they just needed to submit the forms. Looking over the papers, the village chief said he'd give them the lowdown. Our boy was kinda zoned out, thinking about how well Lassie was fitting in. The guild is a private gig that offers all sorts of services. From the outside, it looks like a regular building or a bar, but the tasks range from F to S in difficulty. Adventurers gotta pay a fee, just 10%, and it's taken right off the top. As for levels, they're all sorted out, as already mentioned. Since our boy and Rena are total rookies, they'll kick off at level F. They can scope out tasks on the board right behind them. Once they find something cool, they just take it to the town chief for the green light. That was all we had to say. Stepping back from the counter, Rena asked nervously if our boy got it all, but honestly, he was already on it. Right now, they need to focus on the hands-on stuff to rack up experience. Watching the tasks closely, Rena noticed they were all super simple. Our boy figured she'd come to that conclusion. This would definitely be her first run-in with dangerous bees or slimes. Thinking back to what they left behind near the village, our boy remembered those bee-level beasts, like the chimera. That would be a nightmare, even for a squad of seasoned adventurers at level 60 to 70. Considering all the chaos that could go down, our boy realized Lassie's presence would be crucial, and some explosives wouldn't hurt either. Sighing deeply, he knew his journey was going to be a long one. He wished he had a few more millennia to prep, and Lassie noticed he was spiraling again. All he needed to do was stick with her to make his plans work, just like the little dog said. While they chatted, Rena was eyeing the tasks available. She picked the extermination of carrion eaters. Our boy was surprised by her choice and asked why she didn't go for something easier. She said she was used to fighting zombies, so she picked something similar. Our boy was impressed by her logic. Honestly, that's not a bad way to think. Knowing how to tackle different monsters is super useful. She'll learn more about that at the academy. That said, he was really stoked about her decision. Now it was our boy's turn to pick, and he decided to hunt some goblins. With the missions locked in, they headed back to the counter to sort out their rooms with the town chief. They were all hyped for what the next day would bring. With ease, our boy took down all the goblins. It didn't take much effort since he didn't even need to use magic. All he had to do was take out 5 goblins. Used to battling tougher creatures, this felt way too easy. Our boy figured this area was definitely made for beginners. As he strolled back to town, he started jotting down his experiences, only to realize that writing while walking is a total disaster. He also needs to check his coin stash. He's sitting on almost 24,000 coins, and with room costs, mission payouts, and academy fees, he's got to keep track. Only 3,000 gold coins will be left, and our dude is kind of sweating that. But he wrapped up his task super fast, thinking he'd just take on more missions to stack some cash. As he cruised to the village, something wild went down. He heard battle sounds near the trail. Peeking over, he spotted a kid surrounded by some seriously sketchy creatures. That kid is definitely struggling to take them down. There were 6 creatures messing with him. Our hero figured he's probably at level D, and this fight is no joke. Noticing he had an audience, the kid yelled for help, like right now. Still, the little dude kept swinging his sword like a champ. With a bit of sass, he said if our hero wants something, he should just say it, since he can't read minds. He mentioned he learned that from his master, and our hero thought that phrase might have been used differently. In the heat of battle, one of the creatures was gearing up to launch a massive fireball. A huge fireball was zooming toward that kid. Our hero realized he wouldn't find a chance to jump in while dodging flames. Not wanting to tire himself out too much, he told the young adventurer he'd handle 2 lizards. But before jumping in, our hero noticed this kid needs more practice. Soon after, he started battling his foes. With only 4 lizards left, the young adventurer pushed himself to unleash his best attack. This was the same sword move Ryan has, and seeing it again totally surprised our hero. Thanks to that, the young adventurer leveled up. Once everything calmed down, he thanked our hero for saving him and introduced himself as Ovo. He was stoked to meet someone who helped him out of the goodness of their heart. Thinking it over, our hero figured this kid must be on the same level as Hina. Proudly, the young adventurer shared that his master is one of the 6 brave ones, Dragon. Our hero felt like he'd heard that name before. He also learned that Ovo and his master are killing in a nearby city called Iberial, which just so happens to be where our hero is too. Back in the city, they linked up with Lessie and Hina. The little dog was hyped to see her master again, but she was also a bit cheeky, claiming she's better than him at field tasks. After giving him some sass, she felt a little shy. Trying to keep it cool, he asked Lessie if everything was good with Hina. Excited, the little dog said everything went smoothly, but looking at Hina, it was clear she felt a bit awkward with all the staring. Ovo got super hyped seeing a girl his age, and in fact he was so flustered he couldn't even introduce himself. He formally said it was a pleasure to meet her. Hina said the same back. Trying to lighten the mood, Lessie introduced herself as our hero's familiar, but she got totally ignored by the love-struck kid. She tried again, but still got ghosted by the young ones. Annoyed, she wondered when her master cast an invisibility spell on her. He said he didn't do that, but he appreciated her wild conclusion. Outraged, she thought again that our hero had been swapped out for someone else. While the kids tried to keep chatting, our hero said it was time to help his disciple. Just then, a dude in armor walked up to talk to Ovo. He wanted to know what the kid was doing there, and that armored man with a beard is the young adventurer's master. Dragon, one of the 6 brave ones, looked like a bear. Being all honorable and polite, he went straight to our hero to thank him for helping his disciple. He introduced himself as one of the 6 brave ones. Our hero was flattered by that intro, saying he's a mage hanging out with his apprentice and familiar. Intrigued, Dragon thought our hero must have graduated from the Magic Academy. Our hero said he hasn't gone through it yet. But before answering that, he thought it was pretty chill to have a familiar. No academy needed for that. Very surprised by what he was seeing, Dragon said our protagonist has the potential to totally outshine the 6 archmages one day. Now he turned his attention to the young adventurer and his disciple, teaching him something that should never be forgotten. When in front of a maiden, he must bow his head 2 degrees forward. The heels should touch the ground softly, eyes wide open but not too much, and the corners of the lips should be slightly tilted. Surprising everyone, the boy nailed it, doing exactly as he was told. This left the team of our protagonist slightly shocked and impressed at the same time. They live in a nearby city, so they'll be able to hang out often. After all this, they said their goodbyes. But as they were walking away, our protagonist decided to take a closer look at them. To his surprise, the apprentice's attributes were pretty impressive. Even more so were those of his master, who was already at level 100. And for a dude who looks 30, he's got some serious talent. Noticing our protagonist was quiet, Lassie asked what was on his mind. The young man said it was nothing, just reflecting on the mysteries of life. Once everyone was gathered, they agreed to take on more hunting tasks. Back in the fields, days passed, and they kept on their journey. They ended up in the city of Baelania, where Dragon lives with his apprentice. Excited, Hina believes they'll one day chill there. But until then, they gotta face some challenges. According to Lassie, it's all our protagonist's fault. He's already feeling the heat, since all the blame is on him. She reminded him that 3 weeks ago, they accidentally wandered into a monster den, and 2 weeks ago he cooked up some poisonous mushrooms, and last week he tried to hunt but got wrecked by just one monster. On that same day, instead of using a small fire spell for a campfire, he threw a fire spear that almost hit Lassie. Our protagonist apologized for everything that went down, and with a grin, he asked when Lassie was going to cast a forgetting spell on him. Noticing he's getting a bit smarter, Lassie rolled her eyes. All this is part of our protagonist's master plan to annoy her with his banter. Little by little, he's pulling it off like a pro. His teasing is making the little puppy even more annoyed. Knowing she wouldn't gain anything from that conversation, she suggested they keep moving. For our protagonist, it's awesome to see his crew getting along. However, he asked them to hold up a second as he needs to check his notes. Now, with great enthusiasm, he asked them to hear his latest masterpiece, that is his own autobiography. But even though it was presented with excitement, it ended up being totally ignored. The truth is, the girls would rather chat about something else, leaving our protagonist behind with his dashed hopes. It's already night, and our protagonist is hyped, as they finally made it to the city, and now it seems we're in a flashback. Our protagonist is snoozing. He hears someone calling him, but our boy just wants to keep napping. The dialogue gets super confusing, and someone is asking the intruder to just say their name. All that noise ended up annoying our protagonist. Upon waking up, he realized he was in a totally different dimension. Everything was white, and there was someone in front of him. This entity, hidden beneath a hood, is relieved our protagonist has woken up. He informed her that he shouldn't have been woken up while trying to chill, and the entity apologized, but the matter is urgent. The circumstances are not ideal. Nonetheless, this was necessary. Our protagonist wants to know who this entity is. She sat down to start a long introduction. Our protagonist tried to observe her more closely. He knows it's a male voice. Using the ability of his glasses, he still couldn't see any details. The entity is impressed our protagonist knows magic works even in dreams. He figured this out because he wanted to use the dream world to bring some thoughts to life, since it's easier there, immediately demonstrating this ability by creating a table between them. The entity is blown away by the size and mastery of the magic. Revealing her identity, she said she's a messenger of God. These words left Lassie a bit suspicious. She's sure this person is super sketchy. The truth is, our protagonist agrees with her, even if it's a bit rude. Still, he offered a bit of tea to the messenger of God before his eyes. Imagining there's gotta be a reason for all this, our main dude asked how he could help out. The messenger of God dropped some heavy news, saying the Demon King's rebirth is coming up. Our guy knows the last Demon King got wrecked a few decades before he even showed up, so this cycle is about 5,000 years long. And for the messenger, the real issue is that there are 0 holy knights around. Our dude was confused by this, since he knows there are humans with divine powers. At least that's what he thinks, since 3 holy knights are needed to take on the Demon King. A warrior, a mage, and the hero. With their divine blessing, they get their titles, and there's a reason it works that way. Feeling all kinds of worried about this info, our dude wondered if the entity should be looking for someone more important. The truth is, God's messenger already tried that, but the peeps didn't listen. So, he wiped their memories of the whole thing. As soon as he heard this, our dude started to feel super anxious. Even Lessie was looking bummed about the whole situation. The difference is, she's way less chill than our dude when it comes to God's messenger. In recent years, the number of believers has dropped big time. And that's a problem since God gets his powers from worship. Our dude now gets that the big shots on the continent are relying on others. God's messenger confirmed it, saying no one believed his warnings. Worried, our dude asked why they even contacted him. God's messenger said he's the closest thing to God's path right now. But Lessie couldn't help but grin at that. This info was super confusing for our dude. He knows he's got no divine skills. But then, God's messenger told him to use the glasses to check himself out. To his surprise, he spotted something wild. One of his titles is the candidate for Hermit, and that's already enough to get closer to divinity. Feeling anxious again, he asked what the entity wanted from him. God's messenger was straight up. He needs to beef up and get ready for when the Demon King shows up, because that's definitely going to happen. Right after that, God's messenger started to fade away, leaving our dude with a ton of questions. He was not vibing with having such a meeting just for his chat buddy to ghost him. Now Lessie had something to say too. She wanted another cup of that delicious tea. And just like that, our dude's dream got interrupted. He woke up to someone's voice again. To his surprise, he woke up chilling in the bed he had crashed in. Peeking out the window, he realized it was already past noon. At least the cash he dropped on that room was worth it. The rest was awesome. Chatting with Lessie, our dude decided to keep the dream on the down low from Rena, so she could enjoy her time at the academy. They've still got about 2 years before Rena's ready to hear this news. Finally, they're rolling up to a massive building in the city. The gates are huge, and they both got the green light to enter. This is the academy. Our dude and his disciple are here to take the admission exam. First up, they got to check the authenticity of those documents, the letter of recommendation. After a magical inspection, they got the thumbs up. The secretary, noticing the girl's surprise, said she'd be even more shocked if she knew that tiny magic circle was her reaction. But instead of feeling intimidated, Rena was even more enchanted. However, only our dude knows the real reason why the girl was surprised. They're about to take a practical exam, and to our dude's surprise, it's going to be dynamic so they can see how candidates solve problems. At that moment, the secretary led them to the room, but when she stood up, she was caught off guard by Lessie asking who she belonged to. Our dude said she's his familiar and that she got the okay to be there. The secretary was puzzled that someone who isn't a student has a familiar, which made her apologize right away. Once they reached the room for the exam, she told them it would be individual. Rena was the first to go in, but when she found out she'd be taking the test, the girl got super anxious. Our dude, however, made sure to reassure her. His words helped her step in with confidence. Alone in the hallway, our dude noticed the secretary smiling. She thinks it's cute that they're tight, but they shouldn't sleep on the admission exam. But our dude is sure his disciple will crush it. He's more worried about himself. The secretary said if he has a familiar, he won't have any issues with the test. But honestly, our main dude is sweating bullets about giving an answer that sounds totally whack. The secretary dropped the news that the familiar could chill with him during the exam. Since they're basically part of his skills, no biggie. With all the questions cleared up, the three were left hanging in the hallway, until our main dude asked if the secretary would be waiting there too, cause that sounds exhausting. She thanked him for the concern, but that's just part of her gig. Minutes crawled by and they kept waiting. Rena slowly strolled out of the evaluation room just to spill the tea that she totally passed. She got showered with congrats from the secretary, cause she's super young for the talent she's packing. Our boy didn't expect the results to drop so fast. The secretary said only a few make the cut, so they announce it right away. She told Rena to follow her to another room, wishing our main dude good luck. As they walked off, a voice popped out from inside the room. In there, a woman was waiting. Leslie thought it was kind of weird that it was just a little girl. She was shocked that, this semester, a second familiar showed up at the academy. The evaluator started walking toward our main dude. When he looked closer, he realized this woman was even shorter than Rena. The examiner noticed they were both from the same city, so our main dude must be an instructor for the other girl. In a super chill way, he told her it's not exactly like that, but to the examiner, he's just being humble because Rena's got mad skills. Introducing herself, she said her name is Irene, and she wanted our main dude to answer those questions with his best knowledge. First up, he had to name the 4 fundamental elements, and boom, Lassie dropped the correct answer. Our main dude wasn't thrilled about that, but Lassie reminded him that the secretary said familiars could join him too. Irene was watching closely now that she confirmed the dog could actually talk. Seizing the moment, Lassie made it clear he could be even smarter than his master since he's a bit slow. Irene brushed that off and jumped straight to the second question. She wanted to know if it's possible to cast a spell with a modified magic formula. He also had to give an example for his answer. Our main dude felt like he and Lassie were now in the hot seat. Lassie replied that there's nothing set in stone about the rigidity of formulas for a spell to work. Irene asked her to list 3 examples of this situation. Mailing it, she threw out 3 examples: intense healing, intense recovery, and brainwashing, thanks to the pact with the familiar. Our main dude got a bit anxious, since that last spell was his creation and shouldn't be common knowledge. Irene was shocked, asking if that's really a thing. Since she knows familiars have their own vibes, she wanted to know if it's really possible to strip that away from them. Lassie made it clear that for his master, nothing is impossible. At that moment, our main dude remembered he had used that spell on her once, just for kicks. Worried, he leaned in, asking why she didn't give a better example. Lassie said she just likes to mess with him sometimes. After that, they both needed to know Irene's take. Surprised, she wanted to know how he pulled that off. Irene's research is all about the pact with familiars, and she concluded that a spell of that level is totally impossible. Feeling the pressure, they didn't know what to say, and Lassie told our main dude he needed to step up. Irene, standing there, was clearly disappointed. Taking a deep breath, our main dude knew exactly how she felt. He's faced some serious challenges in his life, so he said, if a different and super specific formula is plugged into the magic circle during the spell, it could totally work. But Irene was still skeptical, struggling to believe something like that, until she decided to think about that possibility a bit more, looking at our main dude with mad respect. And at that moment, he said it's possible to swap out specific parts of a spell. Slowly, Irene started to soak in that info, and for our main dude, it was getting hard to figure out who the real examiner was in that room. The hero also said his goal was to teach Lassie not to pee on the bed, but the dog remembers our main dude laughing while she was under that spell. And yet, he did laugh because she was acting all polite, which is totally not her usual vibe. Looking back at Irene, our main character figured she was way too deep in her thoughts. Maybe it's best to just let her chill for a bit. Back in the day, when powerful creatures became familiars, their owners became legends. That's why ambitious wizards were all about capturing these beasts, but a basic pact? Nah, that won't cut it. Those creatures could easily turn the tables and munch on their owners. So, our main character came up with this genius plan. But let's be real, pulling something like this off is super tricky and could totally backfire. Lucky for him, he nailed the technique and used it on Lassie, making her totally obedient. But guess what? He got bored in less than a day because he loves her wild personality. He figured that suppressing emotions is just not that fun. Actually, the memories made during the brainwashing don't just vanish. While he was lost in thought, Irene finally decided to chat with him again, and she, being one of the 6 archmages, said she was super interested in him. Since he was diving into such ambitious research, he totally aced the Magic Academy exam. He had heard of Irene, the archmage. She stopped her own growth at a certain age to max out her magical potential. That's why she's got that petite vibe, but honestly, it's because the author of this story is a bit of a weirdo. Anyway, her magical power keeps growing, just like our main characters. After dropping the results, Irene asked if he had any questions, and he was curious about the practical test. Thinking he's the real mentor behind Rena's talent, Irene figured this would be a piece of cake for him. Our main character took a super basic exam. Any newbie in magic could have passed that. Irene was stoked with his perfect score. She then revealed that candidates with a perfect score can tackle a much tougher final challenge, but it's totally up to him if he wants to go for it or not. Irene also made it clear that the other 2 candidates had flopped on that question, and our main character realized someone else was also trying to get approved that day. He wanted to keep a low profile, but Lassie piped up that they'd give it a shot, And once again, Lassie's wild side showed up. With the duo's go-ahead, Irene conjured a massive fireball right in the room. She told our boy he had to make the fire disappear completely. Lassie knew that meant using an even stronger spell. Irene warned that blowing up the room would mean a pay cut. That's exactly when the other candidates threw in the towel. But for our main character, the options were endless, and he was totally overwhelmed. This made Irene super curious. The truth is, he needs to pick his path carefully since he wants to avoid too much attention at the academy. Right after realizing that, he grabbed his staff and cast 2 spells, Remote Control and Parasite Control. Suddenly, that giant fireball started to shrink. At the same time, it was being pushed out of the evaluation room. With that, our boy thought he nailed it. Irene was shocked he could control another Mage's spell. That was the quickest fix he could think of. Once the magic circle vanished, making the fire disappear was a breeze. Answering Irene's questions, our main character told her he compressed and absorbed the magical energy from those flames. But since that's not magic, he wanted to use a spell first. Lassie chimed in that her master overthinks everything. If it were her, she would have just peed on the fire. For our main character, that's proof that Lassie sometimes thinks like a dog. Irene, after watching all this, still had more questions. Since our main character had so many options, she wanted to know what other methods he didn't use. He mentioned he could use saliva multiplication, break the flame into pieces, or even create a vacuum space. Irene listened to all those ideas with serious interest. As soon as she caught on, our main character switched gears, telling her the rest of his ideas were a secret. This made Irene pretty annoyed, but our main character wasn't about to spill all his secrets to this little girl. He told her there would be plenty of time to share once he's in the academy, and she could try to steal his secrets then. Irene, looking super upset, got all hostile, and told our dude that she could still fail him. Then, Lassie jumped in, saying if her master didn't get into the academy, Irene would never know those answers. With that bombshell, she had to rethink her whole vibe. She promised that once our boy got into the academy, she'd spill the tea on him to everyone. Our protagonist shot back with a savage reply that totally left Irene blushing. But little Lassie didn't catch the joke. When Irene said she'd expose him, our boy thought she meant to expose all his skin, if you catch the drift. And just like that, they finally got approved and were booted out of the room. In the hallway, Lassie and our protagonist exchanged some serious looks. When they got back to the main hall, they bumped into Rena. Super hyped, she found out her mentor had been approved. Lassie told her she did most of the heavy lifting. Rena immediately congratulated her. But honestly, our protagonist was shocked that Lassie picked up so much magic just by hanging out with him. The secretary popped up again, saying the Academy of Magic takes anyone with mad potential. She figured someone with a familiar would get in too. Introducing herself, she said her name was Tracy, and she'd be in charge of the freshmen this year. Our protagonist caught a sweet scent in the air. He was surprised to realize he'd met his future teacher already. Now that everyone was together, she had some stuff to explain and asked them to follow her to the council room. Finally, after ages, our protagonist was back at the academy, but this time it felt different. He was buzzing with excitement about all the new possibilities ahead. And now he was taking off his second school journey. On the streets of the city, our protagonist noticed it was super crowded. Not a fan of people, he started feeling a bit awkward. His outfit was a bit off, and folks were giving him the side eye. So, he accepted Rena's invite, even though he thought she should treat herself instead. Lassie and Rena were pumped to pick out new clothes for him. They hit up a bunch of stores, eager to see what they could find. Now, our protagonist was looking fresh, dressed like a total boss. Seeing that, Lassie was convinced that clothes really do make the man. He wanted to switch up the color of that cloak, but Rena was totally against it. With the new threads picked out, the seller came over to drop the price. Rena looked shook, but she paid up anyway. Our protagonist asked if she was good. Rena said they went a bit over budget, but it was all chill. She apologized to him for that. After a long day, they headed back to the inn, but our boy still had some stuff to sort out. Walking alone, he started feeling shy in those new clothes. During his chat with Tracy, he learned some cool things. The entrance ceremony is in April. They gotta dress like wizards, and they need to pay all the fees before the ceremony. Since he and Rena scored the max points, they were off the hook for the fees, which totally surprised Tracy. And Irene also mentioned that our protagonist is the top dog in that class. Another candidate was pretty good too, but only our boy cracked the last question. Rena was super emotional about this news, while Lassie couldn't stop grinning. Irene was hyped to see how this school year would go. When she left the room, she handed everything over to Tracy, which left our protagonist feeling a bit lost. Looking at his hands, he noticed they wouldn't stop shaking. He felt the pressure of being the best in class. But then his friends came over to chill him out. At least, that's how it seemed, since Lassie was still smiling like a goof. Now that they didn't have to pay fees, they had some gold coins left over, which Rena used to buy those clothes. Even though Lassie picked that flashy cloak, our protagonist wasn't sure if she did it to compliment him or just for fun. Knowing they didn't have to pay the enrollment fee, they still needed to cough up a monthly fee of 1,500 gold coins. Now our protagonist knew he had to keep stacking cash through the guild. With that in mind, he headed to a specific building in the city. Inside, a bearded dude was reading a book. He greeted our protagonist, who was checking out all the cool stuff in the shop. He could feel the magic buzzing in the air. Those artifacts were straight up amazing. That's exactly what you'd expect from a shop owned by the Archmage of Flames, Gaston. Our main dude rolled in to snag some new staffs. The seller pointed to a bunch hanging on the wall. With so many options, our main dude was totally lost on which one to pick. Then a voice popped into his head, asking if he was hunting for something for himself. He looked around for the seller, but saw no one. Suddenly, a bearded guy appeared right next to him. Realizing he had freaked out his customer, the man asked if our boy was searching for something specific. But nah, our dude was there to grab something for Hina. The seller was curious if they were freshmen at the academy, which totally confirmed the vibe. Once he knew that, he started digging through his stuff. He pulled out a staff with a star on it. Our main dude thought it looked kind of basic. The seller chimed in, saying it's made from super tough material and can double as a weapon. For real, that staff can cast quick spells. Our dude looked confused though. The seller explained that it can store magic circles, and if it was made from better materials, it could hold even more. Our main dude, who had been researching for years, never even thought about that. Intrigued, he asked the seller for more info, who said the circles need to be drawn with a finger. Once the limit is hit, the first circle gets wiped out. All he needs to do is channel the right amount of magic to pull off the spell. Our main dude even thought about snagging one for himself, but was worried about the price tag. The seller, wanting to help, asked what his budget was, and it turned out to be 13,000 gold coins. Knowing this, the bearded man said he could sell him 2 staffs for just 12,000 coins. Our main dude got a bit anxious since that's a huge discount, considering one staff costs almost 10,000 coins. But the seller had a hunch that this customer would definitely come back. Your main dude manages to buy the staff and is bouncing back with excitement, but he couldn't help but wonder if Hina would dig the gift. Originally, wizards didn't need staffs, but they totally speed up spellcasting. They're also super handy for executing techniques. That's why when Hina started training, she got a tiny staff. But the one she had was way too basic for a real wizard. So, he was ready to go all out for his first disciple's gift. With those thoughts, he headed back to the inn. Handing the staff to Hina, he congratulated her on passing. This gift was to celebrate her big win. When she heard this, Hina got all emotional. She started crying right in front of our dude. Leslie popped in, saying he made a girl cry. After a little teasing, Leslie said she'd bounce but wanted to be called back when things were chill again. Finally, our main dude realized he was alone with a crying girl and had no clue what to do. Slowly, Hina started to calm down. Our main dude showed off his identical staff. He thought she'd stop crying soon, but then surprise, she started crying even more. All he could do was wait it out, so he stayed there patiently by her side, gently stroking her head to help her chill. In that moment, Hina grabbed his hands. Our main dude was unsure if he was helping and started feeling nervous, but it seemed to work, somehow. To him, his disciple really had the magic potential, and with all that contact, his mind started wandering into the chaos of puberty. Now he had to control his own emotions because things were getting wild. Looking at the closed door, he cursed Leslie, since all this drama was her fault. Desperate, our main dude called for his doggo. Noticing Hina was no longer crying, with a big smile, she asked what happened to his voice. Embarrassed, he admitted he was kind of thrown off by the whole situation. That was a weird response, but it totally fit his personality, Hina said. Since she knew him for a while, this kind of over-explanation was totally his style. Now, both of them were relaxed, and Hina finally let go of her teacher's hands. She went back to admiring the staff she got as a gift. It's all white with shiny silver details, catching the light in the coolest way. Our main character told her it's made of platinum and scored a discount for buying 2. The girl was all, if that's true, why spill the tea? But our main character feels way more chill sharing stuff this way. For a hot second, Hina was kind of bummed out with him. Then our main character asked if he could poke her cheeks. He slowly brought his finger closer until they made contact. OMG, and with all the wild stuff that happens in stories, suddenly, he started smiling out of nowhere. Now they're both way calmer, and Hina's stopped crying. Our main character called for Leslie to come back in, because it's dinner time. On the other side of the door, Leslie was watching all this and couldn't stop smiling. Thanks to her super hearing, she caught every word. And our main character decided he needs to grab some earplugs for dogs as soon as possible. After all that went down, he checked out his team's stats. With the new titles they snagged, their statuses leveled up too. Right now, they're all huddled together counting their coins. They've got a total of 3,200 gold coins. Our main character told them they're switching ins, which will cost 600 gold coins a day. That means in 5 days they'll be totally broke. So they gotta make sure that doesn't happen. No cap. The girls didn't freak out like he did. They know they can just hit up the Adventurers Guild for work. Our main character noticed Rina is vibing way more now. After passing the exam, it's like her confidence shot up. Her siblings back in the village are also buzzing with excitement. While he was daydreaming, Leslie called him out. She wanted to know if he was even listening, and our main character said they were chatting about cooking a steak with Leslie's tail. He's convinced it would be super tasty. This got the little dog hyped. Definitely not the reaction anyone expected. Rina, though, thought that idea was gross, saying it would hurt. Trying to calm her down, Leslie said they could just use morphine so she wouldn't feel a thing. These wild comments made Rina crack a small smile. She knows Leslie only jokes like that because she really trusts her master. The bond between them is so cute that Rina couldn't help but grin. As soon as she heard that, Leslie got all jumpy. She leaped onto the bed, diving under the covers. Our main character noticed his furry friend was feeling shy. Back to business, our main character knows he and Rina can rake in 900 gold coins a day. But that's kind of slow. He wants to take down tougher monsters. Rina's worried about this since the rewards are super important right now. And our main character remembered that the strongest monsters drop way more loot than they think. Then she remembered they could gather materials too. The guild board shows where these creatures hang out, making it easy to find them. Knowing they can take down a chimera and with better staffs in hand, our main character is pumped. He quickly shared the staff's ability to make quick summons. To get their strategy on point, our boy said Rina should focus on recovery and support spells. Super excited she's ready to brainstorm the best techniques. Even Leslie got hyped about that plan. Later that day, they headed to the guild building. They're on their way to the western part of the city. All they gotta do is follow the road. Their target is a dragon, a creature with 4 wings. Since it's a level A beast, not many are brave enough to take it on. Leslie started feeling nervous. Level B creatures are chill for them, but a level A one needs some serious thought. But our main character knows they've gotten way stronger since the chimera incident. Knowing the risks, Leslie told Rina that if things go south, they can always bail. Feeling ignored, our main character remembered he could cook a steak with her tail. After a long trek, all they see are endless plains. That's gotta be where the dragon is. Peering at the horizon, Leslie couldn't spot anything, neither on the ground nor in the sky. But then a pack of jackals came sprinting by, looking scared. Rina asked why they were in such a rush, and our main character turned to Leslie, asking if she smelled anything weird. With her paws on her nose, the little dog asked our boy to chill with the jokes. Annoyed, he told her to cut it out. Back to business, Leslie started sniffing the air. She totally picked up on something off. A super strong smell of blood was wafting around them. Following the scent, they all moved ahead to find the dragon. Before they got there, they ran into another pack of jackals. Our hero knew a fight was coming, but the jackals were too busy having a good time running away to notice them. Leslie figured out they were also tracking that blood scent, and now they were way too curious about what was going down. To everyone's shock, the dragon's carcass was sprawled out on the ground, and the jackals were feasting. Since there was no stench of rot, they realized the dragon had just been taken down. Lassie was hyped because they could snag the creature's fangs and claws. Our boy wanted to wait for the jackals to finish munching to dodge any drama, but Hina was all about a more aggressive plan to scare those monsters off. She pointed out that there was an egg hidden in the dragon's body. Feeling the pressure, Hina warned that the egg could fall and crack. Knowing this, our hero started to conjure a spell. Actually, it was Hina using wind magic to shove the jackals away. This gave our boy the chance to move in safely. Finally, he reached the egg. But after that epic spell, Hina was wiped out. She couldn't keep the wind going for long and told our boy to hurry up. Looking back, he saw that Lassie was totally zoned out, missing all the action. At last, he grabbed the egg and in frustration thought about giving Lassie a job. Now that they were all together, the egg was safe. And our boy was ready to cast a spell too. He used the Dance of Blades technique. His blades sliced through the dragon's claws and fangs. Next, he told Lassie to gather all those goodies. At first, she ignored him, but after a little nudge, Lassie rushed to get it done. She zipped around collecting everything. Meanwhile, Hina was getting more and more drained. Our boy helped her keep holding the staff, giving her strength to stay focused. Thanks to that connection, Hina felt way lighter. He shared a bit of mana with her, which made her genuinely thank him. Our boy was still a bit shy and couldn't look her in the eye. Thanks to that staff technique, he could switch up the mana source for the spell, and even with just 500 points of mana, Hina was doing some impressive stuff. Finally, Lassie came back with all the dragon loot, and now, the jackals that were floating in the air could land back on the ground. Hina let them return to the carcass, letting the creatures get back to their feast. It was wild how they totally ignored the interruption. Our boy knew that type of jackal usually doesn't mess with humans unless they have to. Hina was relieved they dodged a fight. Now that everyone was safe, they started brainstorming what to do with that egg. Since Hina found it, our boy said the choice was hers. For him, the options were clear. She could sell it or whip up an omelet. But the girl was all about hatching it, super pumped. She wanted to know if that was even possible. Our boy noticed her excitement was off the charts. Having an egg like that is a dream for any mage. After all, who wouldn't want a powerful dragon buddy? Sadly, some shady folks would try to snatch it, but our boy was ready to protect Hina's treasure. He told her that last he would be in charge of keeping the egg warm. The poor dog had no clue how to do that. But she realized she'd be hatching the egg while the humans worked to earn cash, and this was definitely her calling. Still, our boy wanted to know who took down such a beast. The ones responsible didn't care about collecting the loot. One thing was for sure, the person behind this was definitely powerful. But our boy decided to focus on the now. He had more pressing issues to tackle. A little more chill, he realized the world is massive, and it was time to get back to stacking some cash. Hina asked if she could hold the egg since she was worried it might crack, and nobody wants a scrambled dragon. And now they were all heading back to the city, loaded with rewards. The horns, fangs, and claws of the dragon were handed over to the vendor. He was totally shocked that our crew actually took it down. Honestly, our boy wanted to skip the long story, and the vendor tossed out 38,000 gold coins. Our protagonist stayed quiet for a second, mowing over the offer. He threw out that he'd take 40,000 because that's a fair price. The seller wanted to know if he was a pro too. Faced with the tough haggle, our protagonist decided to bounce to another shop. This made the seller bump it up to 41,000 coins. Finally, they hit a sweet deal. As soon as they celebrated, the bald seller hoped to see them again someday. Once outside, our protagonist felt a wave of relief, having snagged a killer deal with those materials. Finally, night rolled in, and it was getting late. This made our protagonist realize that the toughest quests at the Adventurers Guild can take forever. And while he was lost in thought, he noticed it was getting super chilly in those streets. It would be awesome if he could just teleport home right now. But then, Irene and Tracy popped up out of nowhere. Irene was shocked to see him out so late and asked where the other two were. Our protagonist told her he was just selling some stuff and that his buddies were already at the inn. Curious, Irene wanted to know what his level was. He told her he was still at D, which left her stunned, saying she would have guessed at least C or higher. Now that she found him, she also mentioned that at the start of the semester, she plans to put him in her white faction. Tracy chimed in that there are only two factions, theirs is the white one, while Gaston's is the black one. Our protagonist was surprised, thinking they were teachers, and asked if the students were involved too. Irene was shocked he entered the academy without knowing about the factions. They were all gearing up for the Demon King's attack. Between the magic academies and the warriors, two factions were formed. Every year they throw down in a friendly battle. This is to make sure everyone's ready for the fight. Our protagonist wanted to know if he had to join in. Since he was all about avoiding drama, he wasn't keen on getting too involved. Irene told him he'd have to decide at the academy's entrance ceremony. She also mentioned it's a no-go to recruit students before that ceremony, but Irene was sure people feel way more chill teaming up with familiar faces. Worried, Tracy asked him not to spill this conversation to anyone. Our protagonist promised he wouldn't share anything, realizing it could stir up trouble. He also said he'd think about it, which made the teachers breathe a sigh of relief. Finally, they all said their goodbyes. For our protagonist, having that late-night chat in the middle of the street was a total buzzkill. Now he needed to get home before catching a cold. As soon as he hit the inn, he noticed the girls were already snoozing. But they clearly waited up for him until not long ago. Knowing this, our boy headed to the other room. He was about to dive back into practicing magic. Using his techniques, he opened a storage space. It seems super complicated, but it's really just a big cabinet for his stuff. Though it's simple, it's a risky technique. If the user falls inside, they're definitely not coming back. Our boy wasn't about to test that theory. Another mage could pull off this trick too if they knew how to make the circle. That's why he only used this technique when he was sure everything was safe. Thanks to all they pulled off that day, they racked up a ton of gold coins. So, stressing about daily expenses was off the table. He decided to stash the extra in his storage, because that's way safer. Until the entrance ceremony rolled around, our protagonist kept hunting monsters. But they agreed to steer clear of dangerous creatures to avoid bigger messes. At first, everyone was going to work together, but then Rena started sneaking out at night to tackle more tasks solo. She definitely noticed something, but kept it to herself. Leslie must have caught on too, since they share a room. But our main dude, worried as ever, decided to follow her a few times. Rena's skills were leveling up, and it was super obvious. Slowly but surely, she's mastering that new staff of hers. Plus, she's got her own tricks, using magic circles as traps. And let's not forget the physical moves she picked up from her brothers. Our main dude realized he hasn't had much time to teach her lately, but he saw her watching him cast spells and wow, she's got talent. For sure, she could totally become a battle mage. The potential is huge, and he can't wait to see that happen one day. Time flew by, and March finally rolled around for everyone. His room at the academy is pretty basic, but it gets the job done. He's still got some personal stuff for his daily grind. Too bad for Lassie that the boys can't just waltz into the girls' dorm. He knows they can get permission if there's a legit reason, but hey, they've got that telepathy spell. Rena's reaction to learning it was wild, but she picked it up fast. The real hassle is the nightly curfew. They need permission to go out, and when it comes to getting that permission, Lassie knows it can take ages. But that doesn't apply to our main dude, who can sneak around in the dark. Outside the academy, he's still hustling for cash. He headed straight to the guild building, getting a warm welcome. Little by little, he's feeling more at home with these folks, who treat him well. The guild leader said new tasks had come in, so our main dude checked the board for what was up for grabs. He noticed Irene was right next to him, doing the same thing. The teacher, seeing him with his face covered, asked what he was doing out so late. Trying to keep his cover, he said she must be mistaking him for someone else. But Irene was all chill about it, saying she snuck out a few times too. She quickly figured out he needed cash and that got her thinking. Proudly, she promised to help him since she's level S. But our main dude was already backing away, ignoring her words. He went straight to the guild leader to pick his tasks. In a super polite way, the bearded man praised his hustle. Okay, here's where it gets confusing. This dude is named Duncan, but she looks just like a young man thanks to her friendly vibe. Duncan finally dropped more details about the mission our main dude picked. Just then, Irene popped up asking Duncan what tasks he chose. But keeping it professional, Duncan wouldn't spill the tea. She just wanted our main dude to stay safe outside. Fuming, Irene said she'd tag along, but he shot her down. He closed the door right in her face, leaving Irene totally bummed out. Inside, she yelled angrily that she would follow him anyway. Since that day, she's been waiting for him every night at the guild. Finally, the admission ceremony for new students is happening, and once again, our main dude ran into Mr. Dragon. Surprised to see him, he asked what he was doing there. Irene said she invited that warrior to speak at the ceremony. And since he wanted to chat with our main dude, the teacher brought him along. Since they know each other, it's only polite to say hi. Our main dude was totally shocked by that quick conversation. He started hearing whispers about what went down. For someone trying to stay low-key, he just chatted with one of the 6 archmages and one of the 6 brave ones. Meanwhile, Lassie is just vibing and making friends at the ceremony. Our main dude also noticed some people talking about a super cute girl in the front row. She's got everyone's attention. He quickly realized they were talking about his disciple. Anyway, the opening ceremony is finally about to kick off. The Academy's oath is read to all the students, something our main dude already knows by heart. It's time for Tengaron to give his speech. He's a legendary battle mage here to congratulate everyone. A lot of students are shocked to see him. This old dude has a killer history. After him, the guest speaker Dragon dropped some knowledge with his speech. Then it was time for the teachers in charge of the freshmen to take the stage. But first, the student advisor, Warren, had some words to share. Our main dude noticed some chatter about the Black Knight, who's basically a legend around here. But honestly, our main dude doesn't know squat about the big names of this era. If he rolls with a white faction, the Black Knight is going to be his biggest rival. He finally clocked that this student is part of the Black faction. While giving his speech, the Black Knight seemed to spot our main dude in the crowd. But since his social skills are kind of lacking, he got a bit flustered. After the class rep wrapped up, another student was ready to take the mic. Once all those speeches were done, the long ceremony finally wrapped up. Leslie was super bummed because our main dude turned down the chance to be class rep. Honestly, he'd rather blend in and not be in the spotlight, so he passed on that invite. But what really threw Leslie for a loop was that Rena also said no to the same gig. Our main dude knows Rena's got magic skills, but her knowledge is still kind of basic. She's not as polished as the others. Still, he believes she'll level up big time with a chance to learn, but Leslie is the one really stressing, wishing they could be a bit bolder. Back at the academy, everything's running smooth. The class is all set, and each student has their own chair waiting for them. They even have name tags with their names on them. Leslie was shocked because she also got a special chair just for her. She's pumped to be in class with her master, even if he's not as hyped. Looking around, our main dude saw Rena grinning and sitting up front. For him, it's pretty cool to share a classroom with his disciple. That morning, Trace laid down all the deets about how the academy works. Now she's handing out contracts for the students to pick their factions. Our main dude started reading that stuff super carefully. For Leslie, all that paperwork was just a total drag. He realized the terms were kind of vague, not really explaining what could go down. Trace asked everyone to sign those sheets once they made their choice. Our main dude and his disciple were both taken aback by this, but looking at the other students, it seemed like no one was hesitating. When it's all wrapped up, they'll have to drop their documents in the boxes. Our main dude is planning to cast a spell, hoping he won't get caught. In a sneaky way, a magic circle popped up on his desk. The same thing happened at Rena's desk, which freaked her out at first. When the teacher got suspicious, Rena quickly said she dropped her pen. This way, they could fill out the document with the same information. For our main dude, this was the perfect way to handle the situation. He used magic to tweak the contract. If there's one thing he won't ever be, it's someone who just goes along with everything. Noticing Leslie's concern, he reassured her that Rena would be fine, but he knew he'd need to pull off a few more tricks. The moment came for him to drop the envelope in one of those boxes, but after Irene kept pushing, there was only one choice left. Honestly, if it were up to him, he wouldn't want to join either faction. To his surprise, his disciple chose the black faction. Even more shocking, Rena did it on purpose because she wants to challenge her master during the friendly matches. Her comment caught the attention of others nearby. They thought her words were pretty bold regarding the friendly matches. Suddenly, a heated debate broke out about who would take the win. Everyone felt challenged by Rena's words. Our main dude knows only one champ can come from each faction, which got everyone hyped. So he decided to step up, calling out all those wannabes. They were getting way too cocky when they should be focused on beating the top of the class, which is our main dude. Immediately, the nerdy bystander looked scared, and then our boy laid down some serious intimidation. Leslie jumped in, claiming she's a level 100 relative and those poor bystanders are totally lost. Slowly, the vibe shifted. The intimidation was working, no cap. For our main dude, mission accomplished. Rena's no longer seen as a threat by her classmates. Amid all the chaos, Tracy started clapping for silence. Instantly, everyone fell quiet. Guess that contract really packs a punch. Tracy told the students to get back to their seats pronto. Our main dude said sorry for the mess, and slowly, he and his sidekick split up. Now that everyone's seated and chill, Tracy's got some stuff to explain. Finally, the class was dismissed. Irene looked super mad, clutching a contract like it was a hot potato. Our main dude didn't think she'd get her hands on that so fast. Irene knows he's a troublemaker, but as long as he's in her crew, she's cool with it. But if her bosses catch wind of those contract changes, he's toast. Showing she's got his back, Irene said he owes her one. Now she's sighing deep, looking all worried. Faced with this, our main dude let her ask a question, and he'd answer. That totally shocked Irene. And the wildest part? When she hopped off her chair, she got even smaller. Hearing that from him made her blush a bit. Anyway, he wanted to know if she had a question ready. Struggling to think, she decided to save it for later, so they can say their goodbyes now. Irene said she hopes to see him soon, but our main dude isn't exactly counting down the minutes. He knows they'll run into each other at the guild that night. As she keeps watching him, he's just casting basic spells. At least he's sorted out that contract mess. The day at the academy feels long for the students, and our main dude's already got some rep. He casually strolls past Rena and her new crew. As they walk, Leslie's got something to say about his seat in class. There's a portable fire magic circle showing on his chair. Our main dude checks it out. He should have been invisible, but the person who set this up is a total noob. Leslie wants to know what's next. He's thinking of using this chance to turn the tables. He's already annoyed about putting out those little traps. So, he decided to track down the culprit with a spell. To the surprise of a bystander nearby, a light popped up in his hand and wouldn't go out. And for our main dude, that was the signal he needed. He approached the culprit, letting them know the light would vanish soon. The bystander was fuming, but then realized it was a tracking spell. He probably heard of that before, right? Our main dude wanted to swap chairs with the bystander, but he knew this jerk wouldn't have the guts to do that, especially with a fire spell on that chair. Without a word, the bystander turned away, trying to walk off after getting roasted. Leslie hoped that after this, people would chill on trying to mess with our boy. Later that day, they decided to have a little meeting. Leslie was hyped about everything our main dude had done since day one. For someone his age, he should be a bit sharper. But they both agreed on one thing. At least Rena doesn't have to deal with those annoying kids. She's clearly worried about our main dude's situation. Still, he doesn't think she's to blame for any of this. In fact, he's handling it all like a pro. At that moment, Leslie noticed her master was still writing away. She figured he was documenting his journey to become a hermit, but for him, it looked more like a diary of human behavior. After hearing that, Leslie got why her master can't shake off the fool title. Nearby, big wings started to spread. The dragon hatchling had finally hatched, and it brought our main dude a letter from his master. In the process, he got praised for being such a good familiar, unlike some others. Our main dude hoped he'd come back safe. He and Leslie watched as the adorable creature flew back, but before vanishing over the horizon, he gives a little wave back, all warm and fuzzy. Our main dude and Lessie are totally spellbound by him. I mean, that was the egg they snagged from the dragon, right? 2 days after the rescue, he hatched and totally recognized Rena as his mom. Our main dude had to wait a few more hours to meet the dragon since he was catching some Z's. His excited sidekick asked if he could be the dad. As soon as he heard that, he bolted to her room like he was late for a pizza party. This first meetup is super crucial for bonding with the little guy. Our main dude is dying to know if she's picked a name yet. And for Rena, it's mega important that Lessie gets to choose. He immediately woke up the poor pup who was invited to be a grandma. The truth is, she had already thought of a name, and her suggestion totally made Rena's day. For them, it was key to get all this sorted before the academy ceremony. So the dragon's name is Balad, but they're just going to call him Dragon. Way easier. Lessie is curious if there'll be issues with the dragon flying around the academy since he's an A-level monster. Even though he's a newborn, he's still a handful. But our main dude isn't sweating it, since the little dragon's got an invisibility spell on him. Lessie remembers that our main dude had some drama with that spell back in the dungeon. And yeah, it only lasts 3 minutes, but last time he was in his sidekick's room, he accidentally opened a permanent magical portal. Just step into the circle and boom, the magic ticks in, making you invisible. Lessie is shook that our main dude pulled off yet another experiment, but then she started acting super weird. After all, Lessie, who usually roasts her master, ended up giving him some real props. Now the big question is, what's in that letter? Once he checked it out, our main dude realized it was more of a report than anything. For sure, Rena wants to spill the tea with them. She's chatting about her new friends, and it seems like they're not fans of our main dude. This is actually good news and makes Lessie pretty hyped. The next day, the students got the scoop that they'd have a practical class. And guess who's the instructor? Irene, the archmage herself. A bunch of students are buzzing about learning straight from her. Taking charge, Irene told Trace to bounce and leave them to it. With everyone's eyes on her, she kicked off her intro to the massive group. Irene seemed a bit cold, saying she couldn't remember everyone's names, and she dropped the bomb that their mission this year is to give her a reason to remember them. Everyone looked super determined to make that happen. Then, she tossed out the first task for everyone. They had to learn to control fire from a distance. After conjuring a huge fireball, she challenged them to put it out without wrecking the place. Time to show what they're made of. The rules were clear, they had to cancel that magic without causing chaos. Irene asked who felt lucky and wanted to give it a shot. Among them were our main dude and his sidekick. Irene walked over, asking for their names. Oops, turns out it was the glasses-wearing extra who raised his hand, looking a lot like our main dude. Irene picked Rena to go first. Our main dude knew this task would be tough, and the new students only had one way to pull it off. There are other methods, but they definitely don't know them yet. Putting her plan into action, Rena went with earth control to put out the fire. She nailed it, using that element like a pro. After she crushed that challenge, the girl let out a big sigh. And our main dude could see his sidekick is leveling up for real, but being the good evaluator he is, he thinks she can still step it up. After her turn, it was the glasses-wearing extra's shot to shine. Our main dude was surprised he also passed the test. Unlike the others, the kid used a tiny bit of acceleration magic. He totally extinguished the fire without a hitch. Irene called for anyone else who could do what those brave students just did. As they got the green light, she turned to our main dude. She called him up in front of everyone. Our boy wasn't thrilled about being singled out by the teacher, since it drew the Envy Squad's attention. This kind of VIP treatment could stir up trouble for him at the academy. For sure, the teacher was doing this on purpose to get back at him for ignoring her. Even so, it's still a super cute way to get back at someone. Time to give the whole class a chance to redeem themselves. And speaking straight to the glasses-wearing nerd, Irene told him if he wanted another goofy solution, she'd ask him. She seems to get a kick out of making students squirm. Our main character figured out that she's a pretty harsh teacher, and slowly but surely, he started feeling sorry for the glasses-wearing nerd. He's curious about what Irene's trying to pull, since her military-style classes can be a total vibe killer. Now it's time for Irene to focus on Rena. She needs to explain what she was trying to pull off. If it meant solving the fire problem, she'd regenerate herself and jump into the flames. Our dude was totally stoked about his disciple's response. Irene told everyone that quick fixes are key to surviving the battlefield. Now our main character gets why she's so tough. By drawing a magic circle, she told him he'd get a special mission. It's time for him to use a totally different method to put out the fire. That's when he realized he might have praised her too soon. Irene is still a wicked teacher. He's itching to get some revenge in action. With time to think, he decided to make the most of it. And to his surprise, Lassie wanted to know if he was going to use regeneration on her. This is a pretty interesting offer, so he called his familiar to check out the fireball too. After sketching a magic circle on the ground, he figured that should do the trick. Lassie couldn't figure out what he was up to, so she started asking questions. She'd never seen those symbols before and was super curious, just like Irene. In that inscription, there are 2 magic circles. Our main character did this just to annoy his teacher even more. And annoyed, she asked how long he plans to keep stalling. He kept working on his task while Irene glared at him, clearly not amused. He created a bunch of magic circles all over the floor. Irritated, Irene told him to speed it up. The other students were getting fed up with his delay, saying if he can't do it, he should just admit it. Pretty anxious, Irene asked if he could show them his solution soon, but he still needed more time. Finally, everything was done and Irene collapsed to the ground. The whole class was shocked. Some wanted to know what those magic circles were all about. There's something written there, but no one can figure it out. Our main character told them it's just some random scribbles, and, totally drained, Irene called him depraved. Now that everything's wrapped up, our dude decided it was time to bounce. That's his win. Irene was not happy about what just went down. Outside, he explained to Lassie what had happened. While drawing the magic circles, he used his glasses to scope out the situation. What he did was stretch out the time until Irene ran out of mana. Some spells eat up a ton of mana, and Irene only realized this at the last second. And since he's alone out there, it means his classmates are still stuck inside. Then he heard footsteps, and our dude noticed his disciple had shown up too. After seeing what went down, she figured out he had drained the teacher, and she was impressed with her mentor's strategy. But he knows that this strategy isn't exactly praiseworthy. In fact, Lassie had some complaints about how she was treated, but she got scolded by him for scratching the table with her paws. While they were bickering, more people showed up. They're the talented participants who now want to challenge our dude. To his annoyance, they all got the green light from Irene to do so. After the challenge, all the students headed to the gym. Our dude is trying to figure out if he's really the cause of all this chaos. And inside, Irene was already waiting for him, saying he took way too long. He thought they could leave whenever they wanted. Irene brushed off the comment, saying she was surprised he managed to drain her mana this time. Our dude, who checked out her stats, realized her mana recovery is off the charts. And after looking at her abilities again, he figured out she's actually incredible. It's possible his glasses can't fully analyze her. And because of what he did, he totally restored his teacher's mana. But she's got something to say about that. Using mana before a fight to pull a stunt like that is kind of wild. And the teacher made a promise to all those kids who are about to throw down with him. If they lose, they can't annoy him anymore. But if they win, they get to do whatever they want. Our main dude is feeling super confident. He thinks if he wins, it's going to be a total game changer. But the determination of his opponents is kind of next level. Irene mentioned those 3 are the top rated after our main dude and Rena. And if they start acting different towards him, it could totally change the vibe for the whole class. Irene also got the scoop on what went down during class thanks to Tracy. Our boy called his classmates weaklings. Even though he said that, he wasn't really vibing with the terms of the promise she made. Getting ready for battle, Irene whipped up a massive magical barrier to keep the other students safe, totally separating the bullies, our boy, and the awesome Lassie. But our main dude just reached out to pet his familiar. He's going solo, thinking it'll be way more efficient. Lassie was not having it though. She wanted to show off her skills. Meanwhile, on the other side of the arena, someone pokes the magical barrier. It's Rena's friends who figured out they were being pushed back by that barrier. The girl explained it was there to protect the audience. Determined, Irene asked if everyone was ready, because if they were, it was go time. Rena watched her mentor with total confidence. The bullies were ready to rumble, wondering who our main dude would pick first. Without a second thought, he declared he'd fight everyone. His answer shocked not just Irene, but also the bullies, and even Lassie. The muscle-bound bully looked super offended by that comment. But for our main dude, it didn't matter. He noticed his opponents were weak when provoked. The mountain of muscles decided to swing his staff like a warrior. The first hit, though quick, just smashed the ground. Our main dude dodged with style, keeping an eye on the glasses-wearing extra who hadn't done anything yet. Thanks to that moment of distraction, he almost got smacked in the face. But as soon as he focused again, he dodged all the attacks like a pro. He also noticed those attacks were coming in hot. There might be some wind magic in that staff, which is pretty cool. Not long after, he conjured some flames, totally catching the girl off guard. She was still trying to draw a magical circle, but our main dude burned it to a crisp. Back in the action, the mountain of muscles swung again, and as usual, our boy defended himself like a champ. It's rare to find a mage who prefers to brawl up close. And now that he got distracted again, the girl shot a fire arrow at him, but our main dude blocked it without breaking a sweat. The girl couldn't believe how easily he defended against her, which made our boy fire off a bunch of fireballs at her, while still dodging the mountain of muscles. She watched all of it, feeling totally helpless, getting hit by our boy's attack. But before things got worse, Irene swooped in with a magical barrier to protect her. Still, the girl was out of the game, and our main dude asked Lassie to take her away. The mountain of muscles was shocked by how fast his opponent was. Irene was also curious about that attack since it's not something taught at the academy. After a brief pause, our main dude said, "The technique is a secret." Then he used a body tension magic, hitting his opponent right on target. That damage was no joke, and needing healing magic, he was also out. Irene was annoyed because she had never seen anyone use body tension magic like that. And yeah, our main dude had 2 spells on his staff, but they weren't exactly what they seemed. He made some tweaks to the composition of both. It's a simple move for someone with his skills. The first time he tried this combo was while hunting, and it worked like a charm. But since this was Irene's first time seeing something like this, it's understandable she was upset. And for real, she didn't like seeing our main dude spill secret techniques at all, which made her focus on the glasses-wearing extra, who was just chilling in the arena, completely frozen. Our main dude casually walked over to his opponent, only to find something wild. The kid had fainted even before the fight kicked off. Worried, Lassie guided our main dude, while he carried the glasses-wearing extra on his back. As Lassie kept complaining about how he walks, our main dude said he's been doing this forever, and she could help instead of whining. She would love to, but she can't stay in her giant form in this place. And thinking our main dude is trying to figure out how that extra passed out without lifting a finger, or why he's stuck being the one to carry him. While he's deep in thought, Irene's all curious about how he pulled off that fire magic, but our main dude is keeping it on the down low. Fuming, she calls him a trickster. She knows that technique is top tier, so she's itching to know the secret sauce. He tells her that the teacher should have been paying attention and memorizing what she saw, but it was too fast for her to catch. So our main dude is still feeling annoyed. He's decided he's going to live like a total mystery man now, trying to vibe with that wise guy energy. The look on his face is so ridiculous that Lassie and Irene can't help but notice. Lassie is convinced he's having some wild thoughts. Irene knows him too well and is sure he's just thinking about something super basic. Despite all this chatter, they finally roll up to the first aid room. Inside, there's this ancient dude waiting for them, looking like he's seen it all. The old man's name is Billy, and he's the go-to guy for situations like this. He used to be one of the biggest names in recovery magic in the whole country. Our main dude feels pretty honored to meet him, especially since he brought in a student who fainted during the friendly match. Billy quickly figures out this was all thanks to Irene's lessons and asks where she's off to now. She should stick around. Our main dude also mentions everything went down with the teachers okay. Since the fool is still breathing, he asks to be laid on the bed in the office. Not long after, Billy spots Lassie hanging out. He can't tell if she's a dog or a wolf. He also asks if she belongs to our main dude. The boy had told her to stay out, but she followed anyway, and Billy's giving her the once-over. After a quick assessment, he realizes that the female dog is actually pretty stunning. Irene spills the tea that Billy is a huge animal lover, and after checking out Lassie, Billy's interest in our main dude skyrockets. He figures he must be a solid master since it's rare to find a familiar that's so well behaved. At that moment, Lassie jumps into the convo, saying she works super hard to keep her master in line. Our main dude whispers to her to just take the compliment and chill, but she bounces back, saying she's totally disciplined. Their banter makes Billy grin from ear to ear. He sees they're true pals. Seizing the moment, our boy decides to throw in a few questions too. He admits he's not great at recovery magic and would love some private lessons from the old man. Before Billy can even respond, Irene jumps in, reminding him that Billy's part of the black faction. Our main dude thinks this could be a problem, but for Billy, it's whatever. He can still teach. Since he's the first freshman to ask for private lessons, Billy realizes he's got a young talent in front of him, and Irene, feeling jealous, doesn't want to lose him. Not long after dropping the student off, she yanks our main dude by the hand and drags him outside. He's ready to head home, but Irene keeps pestering their great talent. She's tugging at the hem of his cloak like it's a game. Meanwhile, Lassie hangs back, just watching the chaos unfold. With some free time on her paws, she decides to snag some snacks from Billy, while Irene drags our main dude to the student council room. Inside, there's a boy scribbling notes. He's the same extra who gave a speech during the admission ceremony. They haven't been introduced yet, but this glasses-wearing kid knows our main dude is a talented freshman. He's also aware of the dragon incident, but Irene's clueless about that and gets all worked up. Still, the student knows our main dude just sold the materials. It's possible he didn't actually take down the creature. Even so, if he crossed paths with it, it's because he thought he could handle it. Our main dude is shocked at how perceptive this kid is. And with our boy going silent, the extra with glasses and long hair takes that as a yes. Irene's on the same page, thinking it's true since our main dude has a level 100 familiar. Our main dude is low-key annoyed at how the student talks about his familiar, like she's just some sidekick. Since he's dealing with a kid, he decides to keep it cool and asks why Irene dragged him here. She suggests he join the student council too, and our main dude instantly shuts that down. But when trying to leave that room, the door was totally locked. It was the council president who pulled this move, wanting our dude to at least hear him out. Our protagonist was all, "Nah, I'm not changing my mind." The student opened a drawer in his desk, pulling out the contract that Irene had signed. The council president thinks he can use that as a bargaining chip. If they found out what went down, she could get kicked out of the academy. Our protagonist was the one who forged those changes, and there better not be any evidence left behind. Noticing our protagonist's interest, the council president is about to spill how he figured it all out. He didn't find anything in that contract, but there were some sneaky changes compared to our protagonist's version. He decided to launch a full-on investigation, and some stuff was missing. Only a super skilled mage could pull off something like that. It was too slick to be noticed. That turned into a wild journey of humility for the council president, who needed 2 whole days to sniff out any clues, reaching the conclusion that the mastermind behind this is seriously impressive. Now our protagonist is curious why Irene wants him on the council. The teacher wants to keep her star student close, no doubt about it. And Warren, even though he's in the black faction, wants to keep things balanced, which is why our protagonist's presence on the council is a must. Since he's about to graduate, everything's about to change. Our protagonist is already infamous for causing chaos with all the drama that went down, so they can just say they want him around for observation. No biggie. Warren doesn't want to miss this chance, and neither does Irene. Honestly, with his influence, the contract drama can be totally ignored. That dude grabbed Rena's contract in his hands, while Irene and Warren were hyped about his entry into the council. Outside, our protagonist strolls through the halls, feeling kinda bummed, spotting Lessie with her belly all swollen from munching snacks. He bent down to pet his buddy and did that for a bit, like he was trying to cheer himself up. Back in his room, our protagonist heard Lessie's complaints. All that love almost made her hurl. He also mentioned having a seriously unlucky day, getting schooled by Lessie. It's not that he's unlucky, it's just that his life is a mess. As soon as they opened the door, the dragon hugged our boy's face, saying sorry. Worried, Lessie asked what went down. And the little creature said she lost her invisibility and almost didn't make it. That's why she was stressing. Our protagonist said no need to cry, he'd help her get home. Overall, it's Rena who looks after the little dragon. She learned to fly on her birthday and, thanks to her smarts, picked up human language super quick. She didn't even know what happened to her real mom. Still, she chose to live with Rena. On the night of the admission ceremony, she made a special pact with the dragon. It takes a ton of mana to pull this off, and our protagonist had to pitch in. They could wait until she could do it solo. However, our protagonist decided to speed things up. The next day, he drew a magic circle in her room so the dragon could turn invisible just by walking through it. And super upset, the dragon admitted she had messed up. But our protagonist will make the same circle in his room too so she can go invisible again. However, he's curious how the creature managed to sneak into his room. The dragon said she has spatial distortion magic. Our boy remembered he had faced wyverns before, and they can totally paralyze their victims. Since the dragon doesn't use the magic circle, that's almost like a physical power. Our protagonist is seriously impressed that a 6-day-old dragon can chat about such complex stuff. Now that the circle is ready, he can test it out. The dragon wants to know if she's vanished, but our protagonist can still see her, which makes the dragon a bit nervous, since Rena says the same thing. Ready to prove something to the dragon, our boy showed that in front of a mirror he has no reflection. This way, he felt confident enough to climb out the window. Our protagonist was grateful for the help he got. He's stoked, as the dragon didn't stay sad for long. And now Lessie is totally enchanted by everything that went down. She wants to know if she still looks cute. But our boy has other priorities. He's gonna grab some food and head to the guild. Things are pretty chill outside the academy, and our boy walks his path lit by the moonlight. Spotting something weird on his way, he shot off several fireballs. That's definitely enough to tackle the task he's got to crush. Bright and early, he's chilling with Irene, the queen of all those tasks. She drops the bomb that with that fire spell, he can wipe out most monsters in just one hit. For real, our dude told her he's got to take down 6 ogres. Lucky for him, a bunch of them are hanging out in that area. Last time he was at level B, he ran into a fighter ogre. He took it down, but there could be more lurking in the forest, and that's got Irene sweating. She's wondering if there's any research on these beasts. This got our dude a bit worried since he's got an old study on ogres. Irene knows studying those creatures takes months, maybe even a year, so he played dumb. But it was clear she wasn't buying it. She's hyped about his power, almost at level B, while he's just itching to get results tonight. He's super close to hitting level B in the Adventurers Guild. The real flex is at level A, where he can dive into newly discovered dungeons. Irene knows level B adventurers rake in the cash, sometimes scoring 10,000 coins per task, which is why he's gunning for that promotion. She's stressing about his time, since being in the student council means less time for hunting, but our dude's only got his eyes on graduating. He's not trying to spend all his time at the academy. All he needs to do is keep showing up to class. It's way different from his old life. Feeling a bit nostalgic, he realized things gotta be this way. Otherwise, he wouldn't have met such awesome people. He still hits up old Ryan through telepathy, and the village chief is stoked about Rena's progress. He even told the old man that their village seems to be off the map on the continent. So far, no clue what's going on. Plus, there's the academy story. Our dude might actually enjoy being in the student council. They could totally help him reach his ultimate goal. There's a family cup happening in the capital. That's got Lassie hyped, and soon our dude might get to join in. But even with all this, he hasn't found any more leads on the Demon King. Not even his teachers have a clue. Since this is urgent, our boy's gotta keep prepping, cause the Demon King is coming back, and the messenger of God made it clear he needs to be ready for that day, so that's what he's been doing. Only then did our dude realize he might be the one to take down the Demon King. If it really goes down that way, things could get super complicated, cause he's got no idea how everything's connected. Either way, he's gotta keep exploring and hunting for clues. Finally, Irene's voice cuts through his thoughts. She's found an ogre. For our dude, it's a total bummer being next to such a loud sidekick. Later that night, he crushed the guild exam, and as usual, he's treated like royalty when he rolls up there. The guy, who's actually a woman with a confusing vibe, is pumped to see him again. And on this special occasion, she's got a task just for him. This kind of task is on demand, showing our dude has earned Duncan's trust. He'll need to explore a labyrinth with 3 other adventurers who also signed up for the mission. The reward? 15,000 gold coins each, which is a major win for our dude. He's not used to labyrinths, but thanks to capitalism, he's ready to give it a shot. Back in the student council room, our dude faced the biggest battle of his life. He saw an enemy with a massive military gadget aimed right at him. Poor guy's got no defense. And this enemy is coming in hot, showing off her weapon skills. She even asked if there's someone special on his mind, but sadly, his brain just crashed and he's got no answers. Still, she keeps attacking without mercy. After her hands brushed against his, he started hyperventilating. She also made it clear she's super interested in getting close, which totally short-circuited our boy. He tried to back away from that enemy, but our dude just didn't have the strength or willpower to pull it off. Then boom, Irene shows up and she's not vibing with all that closeness at all. Oh snap. Now Irene's on our boy's case for not putting up a fight during that battle. Jealousy levels rising. Irene realizes he's into women, and yeah, our dude knows she's a total knockout. He just can't keep it together around assertive women like her. But Irene made it clear that kind of behavior is a no-go at the academy. Honestly, by showing up when she did, Irene saved our boy from a fight he would have totally lost. And if she were a bit more serious, she'd have a way better rep at the academy. Irene thought it was wild how our boy acts older than his age, considering he's only 2 years younger than her. So, he straight up asks how old she is, while she's casually chatting with Billy, who looks like he's been around since dinosaurs roamed the earth. Furious! She stomped on his foot with her high heel, saying that's not a question you throw at a lady. Now he's got to get it through his head that tonight's the night for their plans. Irene wants to tag along, but she's got to handle some stuff at the academy first. The labyrinth with no return? That's the name of the place he's about to dive into. Irene mentioned the other adventurers are already at level A, so he should be good to go. Our boy joked that if he bites the dust, he'll come back as a ghost to haunt his teacher. After that little chat, he headed back to his place, ready to prep and give it his all. He's filling his apprentice in on what's about to go down, and now he knows he needs to tread carefully in that labyrinth. Meanwhile, Leia is snoozing like a champ. Determined to wake her up, our dude starts poking her nose. She jolts awake, thinking she's been ambushed, and to make it worse, he says the Demon King is here, the great Demon King of Sneezes. And she finally gets that it's just a joke. Now, all serious, Lassie tells him he's a total failure as a human and a hero. He's low-key offended by how savage that was, so he decides to get back at her by tickling his partner. Now he gets why he's got the title of Fool, because she's been thinking that about him for centuries. That's why he can't shake off that title, and now she's getting punished with tickles. After a wild tickle session, he lets Lassie catch her breath. Once she's back in the game, she tells him he's actively competing for that title. Honestly, humans are pros at blaming everything else for their own mess-ups. As time goes on, he's drifting further from the title of Wise. In the dead of night, they snuck out of the academy. Heading straight to the meetup spot, Lassie thinks they're way too early. Or the losers who were supposed to help them are just late. Truth is, they're both fighting off sleep, and because of that, they start bickering until Lassie hears something. Finally, the other adventurers roll in. She catches the sound of metal and the smell of blood. and by the sound of their footsteps, they're all on high alert. This adventure might actually be lit. The three adventurers come up, hyped about having a wizard on the team. Our boy checks them out closely. He introduces himself, saying he's here to help at Duncan's request, and that lady is his familiar. After saying what's up, he sizes them up with his glasses, realizing they're all super talented. For some reason, our dude starts to sweat, since he's got some negative titles that clash with the good ones. But honestly, his skills are off the charts. The guy with the bandana is pumped and ready to take things off. He tells the wizard to hang back with his familiar, while they, the combat crew, will take the front line. They quickly adjusted their formation, so our boy can flex his skills. Since he's not used to fighting in a group, this setup is going to be clutch. As they move, the bandana warrior gives our boy props, saying it's super handy to have a magical torch. While they chat, everyone gets ready for battle. Our dude feels the danger creeping in, getting praised by the leader of the adventurers, and boom, bandits are on the horizon. A group of dangerous people is approaching the leader. The dude rocking the bandana just drops some intel to his crew. They're gearing up to attack while our main character hangs back. The battle's about to kick off. The armored warrior charged in like a freight train, while our hero boosts his squad with some epic support magic. The hits from the adventurers are brutal, and the bandits are getting sliced up smoother than butter on toast. Our protagonist is ready to heal his crew if things go south. He's got a feeling that the girl might take a hit in the chaos. So, Leslie pipes up, asking for a power-up, because she wants to throw down too. Our hero spots one of the bandits armed with a bow and arrow. To avoid any drama, he decides to unleash some fire magic. Meanwhile, the adventurers are wiping the floor with those bandits. The armored dude charges at the last one standing, but the remaining bandits are booking it. The bandana-wearing leader is intrigued. That gang of bandits is notorious around here. The armored guy says the bandit Leslie faced was tougher than him. That's why she got caught up in the brawl. But since she got that sweet support magic from our hero, Leslie realizes her opponents were strong but underestimated, giving her the upper hand. With everyone together, they agree to stay on high alert. But now, the bandana-wearing leader has something to say. Our hero's support was clutch. He's a solid addition to the squad, and he's ready to patch up any injuries. The leader noticed this right away, also giving props for our boy's battle smarts. Staying put was a smart move. Our protagonist realizes that despite the chill vibes, that leader is super observant. Time to move forward into the labyrinth. Their mission is to reach that spot while it's still dark. They'll keep the same defensive setup. Now, feeling pumped and ready, they all head into the unknown. Lighting the way, our hero keeps moving with his new crew. After a bit of walking, he starts feeling the burn in his legs. Plus, he has to stay alert, which is making the whole thing pretty stressful. Leslie notices he's looking a bit worn out and asks if he's good. Our boy says he can keep going, claiming he's got enough energy to dance if it comes to that. Realizing it was a joke, Leslie tells everyone that her master needs a breather. The leader apologizes, saying they got a bit carried away on the trek. He points to some trees nearby, saying it's time for a break. For our protagonist, this is awesome news, and the girl wants to know if he needs help with his tiredness. But our boy declines any help. Knowing she might be a liability, Leslie sees right through him. The truth is, they can't waste time joking around. Focus is key. Sitting against a tree, our boy starts to chill. Leslie is thankful for the support from the other adventurers. She promises to keep watch. While he takes deep breaths to relax, he realizes he's super thirsty, and when he grabs his canteen, he sees he's already downed a lot of water. Slowly, he realizes he totally underestimated this journey. They've already faced bandit attacks, the path is long, and the labyrinth is still a mystery. Looking wiped out, he's surprised when the leader comes over with some water. Flattered, he hears from the bandana guy that it's no big deal. He also mentions that the trek will get easier from here. They'll soon hit a road that leads straight to the capital, making life easier. Still, the armored dude warns that the journey will stay dangerous, and it's time for the bandana guy to keep things secure. Sitting next to our protagonist, the armored man asks if he can light up the area more. With just one energy sphere, it's tough, but our hero can whip up another if needed. Relieved, the armored man tells him to focus on magic and they'll handle the fighting. Honestly, our protagonist should have done this from the start to save his energy. The girl says he'll eventually learn to roll with field trips and that she used to be just as clueless at first. While they chat, the armored man warns that they'll be leaving soon, only 5 minutes left to rest. Once again, they picked up their walk, and now 2 glowing spheres are lighting up the path. Our boy keeps moving forward with his crew until they finally stumbled upon the labyrinth of no return. Now they can actually chill. They'll take turns keeping watch, and some are already catching Z's. By the campfire are our main dude, Lassie, and the armored guy. He's shocked that the familiars don't need to sleep. Lassie told him it doesn't mess with her body, even though she loves doing it. Knowing this, the armored dude was super stoked, since Lassie's watchfulness is going to be a game changer. Our boy noticed that his buddy is getting treated like royalty by those adventurers. And seeing our protagonist's notes, the armored guy wanted to know if that's really a magic circle. And it's kind of like that. Right now, it's the focus of our boy's studies, and he's almost done with his research. His goal, teleportation, a quest that's driven many wizards to the brink of insanity. And Irene herself is trying to make this dream a reality. But she hasn't nailed down the final concept of her theory yet, though she's made some progress. She didn't spill all the juicy details about her research. But for our protagonist, that was already a win. Sadly, even if it becomes real, its practical use might be limited, since regular spells won't cut it. A conclusion that Irene reached all on her own, which surprised our boy. The logic behind this spell is to turn the target's body into the 4 basic elements of magic and then bring it back. In theory, it's like turning someone into fire and then back into a person. You'd need to invoke this circle from a distance and then connect it to the elements. First, a tiny flame would pop up above the overlapping magic circles. Then, the user's body would appear. At least that's how it should work in theory, and our protagonist thinks he could try to make some moves. Looking at Lassie, he almost suggested something, but she shot him down right away. Even without saying a word, she totally read his mind. After a few hours by the campfire, it was time for them to catch some sleep while the others kept watch. And after a well-deserved snooze, the first rays of morning hit them. All the adventurers are already up and ready. It's time to team up and explore that labyrinth. The bandana guy said they'll work hard, so it's good for our protagonists to stay hyped. They're all set to roll. Our boy realized that the bandana guy's tough love is what keeps that crew tight. For a team to vibe well, everyone's got to work together, embracing their quirks. With the glowing spheres conjured, the armored dude told them it's time to dive into the labyrinth. Before they do, they make an oath. With death by my side, I fear nothing for my life. Our boy and Lassie thought that was a bit weird at first, but they decided to go along with their new pals, who were super pumped about it. This way, they're truly ready to face whatever comes their way. Our protagonist's crew has already stepped in and he found himself at the entrance. He just needs to take a step closer to his goals. A step he couldn't take before, but now he's not about to be left behind, since there are people counting on him. Totally ruining his moment, Lassie just shoved him with all her might. Finally, our protagonist took that step into the labyrinth. Lassie zoomed ahead, claiming she'd leave him in the dust. Despite her sassy vibes, our protagonist digs his familiar's personality. As soon as they entered the labyrinth, the chaos kicked off. Tons of creatures were there, trying to take them out. But since the team is super tight, they managed to wipe them all out. It's only been an hour since they stepped in, and there's still a long way to go. Our protagonist told the team leader that the last crew that tried to conquer this labyrinth had 3 warriors and 2 wizards. So far, all the monsters they've faced were low level, and it's been ages since anyone last entered the labyrinth. It's possible that the adventurers who tried to reach here fell prey to bandits. In any case, they decided to keep pushing deeper into the labyrinth, until they hit a dead end. There's no other way to go, and the path is blocked. The team leader is stumped. He's running out of ideas. Our protagonist decided to boost the armored guy, and with that, he whacked the bars a few times, but all he did was put a dent in his sword. Our hero recognized that metal. It's ancient and tougher than a math test on a Monday. His crew figured that breaking it might be a no-go after all. Panic set in as they thought they might be stuck behind that door forever. But our hero reassured them that if the mission is just to snag some loot, they might still pull it off. All they gotta do is dig under the access point. But this idea didn't exactly pump up the team, since their leader would be the one stuck doing all the hard work. Agreeing to the plan, he at least asked for some dried meat, and our hero promised to share Lessie's portion. She couldn't believe she got roped into this, but our hero said they're in it together. Still, she was pretty annoyed. Their vibe is so natural and chill that the other adventurers are low-key impressed. Having been compared to our hero's wife, Lessie felt all the feels, but it's hard to tell if it's admiration or just regret. Back to business, they started digging into the ground. After what felt like forever, they finally broke through to the other side. The squad leader was totally wiped out. It took him 2 hours to pull that off. And now he wanted his buddies to carry him. But the girl flat out said no, leaving her leader to crash on the ground, totally drained. Lessie also noticed that this crew of adventurers was super chill. It was like they'd been besties forever. The armored dude spilled that what they show the world is just a tiny slice of who they really are. Lessie was vibing with all this deep life talk. Now that they've snagged the treasures, they gotta get back to the guild in one piece. The armored guy was worried about his leader, but he promised he just needed 10 hours of beauty sleep. Now it's time for everyone to head back. And they felt a nice breeze flowing through the maze. The way back was turning out to be way quicker than the trek there. The girl complained about the stale air in the maze. She wanted fresh air like yesterday. Their chat got cut off by the squad leader, who seemed to catch something. They were totally surrounded. Outside, a whole gang of bandits was waiting. So the video ends here. If you don't want to miss the next part, I can make a notification bell. And see you next time.